Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta, which includes Blackfoot Confederacy members Siksika, Kainai, and Kainai First Nations, the Stoney Nakoda Bearspaw, Chiniki, and Wesley First Nations, the Dene of Sena First Nations, and Métis Region 3, and all those that make Treaty 7 lands their home. All right, we have before us a consent agenda. Is there anything on here that we would like to remove? Councillor Gordon.
Yeah, I'd like us to discuss 2.1.b, please.
Okay, 2.1.b,
Mm-hmm.
CAO and staff reports, community service direct and staff report.
Yes.
We will slide that onto the regular agenda under, let me have a look. I think we'll just go 9.6 on action items. Oh, must be. Is that fine? 9.6. 9.6, and please remind me, because you know I'm gonna skip right over that when we get there. 9.6, consent agenda. 2.1b. All right. Anything else from council to be removed? Well,
It's about the renewal report, but I don't think we need to make you.
Okay.
excellent. Good. All right. All right. With that being said, can I get an adoption of the consent agenda as amended? Jonathan gives us that. All in favor? Excellent. Thank you. Alrighty. We will go into close. Can I get a motion for that? Right. There we go. As amended?
No, we're not amending the, oh.
We did. So there you go. Yep. Okay. Excellent. Thank you, Heather, and thank you for the heads up, Cindy. All in favor? And that is carried. All right. Now I'll get a motion for closed session, please. Brendan gives us that, section 25(1)C. All in favor? That is carried. It is 6:01. Is that correct? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it is 6:30 and we are going to reconvene our regular business meeting from November 6, 2024. We started tonight at 6 o'clock sharp. We went into a closed session under section 25(1)C, I believe it was. We adopted the agenda with one addition. We removed 2.1b, which is CAO and staff reports under community services recreation staff report. And we placed that into the action items under 9.6, which we will see later in the agenda. We have a very large agenda this evening. So we're going to try and move along as efficiently as possible. Let's see here. We have motions coming out of closed. We do have one motion coming out of closed. Councillor Gordon, if you would.
Sure. So council directs administration to enter into a contract with the Village of Longview to provide community peace officer support services while adding one FTE CPO position to our 2025 operating budget.
Thank you. Any discussion on the motion?
I'll just make a comment.
Yes, please.
Just because we have an audience now and we don't want to keep people in the dark.
There you go.
We went into close just to discuss an agreement with the Village of Longview. We had previously provided services under the town of Black Diamond. That agreement after amalgamation was no longer beneficial to our town and our residents as the costs were starting to become cumbersome for us. So our CPO department and manager, TJ, have been in discussions with the CAO and the council down there. And they've come to an agreement that's going to put more boots on the ground for us, as well as provide services for Longview. So we'll have more CPO presence here in town at no cost to the residents here, which is great for us. So that's just a little bit of background for you.
Excellent. Well,
And I think for Verna's sake, I'll repeat it just to double check. I was going to email it really quickly, but I thought I'd just repeat it. Council directs administration to enter into a contract with the Village of Longview to provide community peace officer support services while adding one full-time equivalent CPO position to our 2025 operating budget.
Any further comments from council? So Cindy, all good. I think this is a great move and great work on behalf of council. So all in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. All right. Question period. Question period is a 15-minute section of the council agenda we give to the public to ask questions of council or administration for points of clarity or general inquiry, whatever you wish. You can text, phone, or as Beth Carter did right here, fill out this lovely form, which is in that folder on the wall. We like to get those in as fast as we can. So if there's any background, tonight's question doesn't have a huge amount of background, but it has a great Facebook presence as it is regarding deer. So Beth, I'm just going to read it out for you here. She gave me a nice little anecdote here just earlier, but she's very concerned about the deer in the town. We had one follow ourselves, myself and the dog. What are the town's plans? There are way too many deer. It is a major problem. So obviously, I'm just going to go right over here to Mr. CAO. Who's in charge of the deer first off, because we need to anchor that out.
Government of Alberta, your worship, so it's not a town level jurisdiction.
Okay, now I have 2 hunting tags. Anybody? Anyone? If not, I'm willing to take properties, all right? Okay, Jonathan.
Yeah, I wonder if it would be appropriate, and I don't want to put our public works manager on the spot, but he's been part of a regional discussion about the deer population around our territory. So he's been part of these discussions. I don't know if it would be a proper time to put him on the spot and see what updates we may have on that.
Yeah, and there's the fencing conversation that you were also involved in, Okotoks on that. So if you would, Mr. CAO, could we? Correct, please do.
Thank you, to the chair. Yes, I have had many conversations with a group that's kind of formed in the southwestern corner of the province. We're not unique. There's many animal problems in municipalities, not just deer. There's, depending on the region you live in, varies as per the types of animal problems. Deer are definitely on top of that list, and the consensus for the most part is that education is the biggest piece, because from experience with calling deer in other municipalities and regions, it doesn't take long for those deer to repopulate. So you know, there's a lot of expense and time involved in pursuing calling animals, and again, they will return to the municipality. So education seems to be the path that most municipalities are taking. There are some resources through the province around those communications for education, and Okotoks has actually implemented a pretty robust communication education program. So I think the group has all agreed that that's probably the best first steps, and that's where I'm at the moment with this.
Hey, I got 2 questions if I could. CPO Matt, I'm just gonna go right to you because you know everything. Number 1, fines for feeding deer, because I know Jonathan was gonna follow up with that one. So what presently is the fine for feeding deer?
Putting me on the spot, your worship. I'm gonna go anywhere from 500 to 750. We do not get a lot of calls about people feeding deer. We track everything in our report management system. We get a call, we do follow up. Generally, we'll go with an education before enforcement approach for first time offenses. Follows that with charges under the respectful bylaw.
Okay, and my second one is legally, can we administer bear spray on a deer?
That wouldn't be my area of expertise. It's an animal, so it is protected under the Animal Protection Act. I would suggest contacting Fish and Wildlife. They'd be the best one for that question.
All right, because maybe a small mace that's not as potent as a bear spray, but a deer deterrent could be carried by dog walkers. It's a problem. So anyway, just looking for solutions. So, all right. I'm sorry, Beth, we can't converse with the general public during these. But as you see, we've got some ideas. So
If I may, Mayor Crane, just a quick follow-up. We do have a dedicated bylaw officer this year, first time in a while. So please, if you hear the concerns, and I do say this to the community, if you do see your neighbors actively involved in feeding wildlife, please report that. That is something that I would really love to see, because we see it all over Facebook. People are accusing neighbors of doing this. Well, we have tools in place that, as our CPO lead has told us, let's educate, but then there will be enforcement.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for bringing this concern forward. I appreciate that. All right. Moving on. Public hearing 6.1. Ladies and gentlemen, I have to read from a script, and just bear with us here. November 6, 2024, public hearing for bylaw 2024-82 and 2024-83 land use bylaw amendments to remove municipal planning commission from land use bylaw 2021-06 Black Diamond and bylaw 21-1114 Turner Valley. This public hearing is held pursuant to section 216.4 of the Municipal Government Act to hear representations from the public on proposed bylaws. I hereby declare the public hearing for bylaw 2024-82 and bylaw 2024-83 land use bylaw amendments for land use bylaws 2021-06 Black Diamond and 21-1114 Turner Valley opened at 6:40. I am Mayor Barry Crane. I'm the chairperson for this evening's hearing. Will council please introduce themselves, starting with Councillor Gordon, heading this way, and then administration right down to Craig, please.
Jonathan Gordon.
Cindy Holiday,
Brenda Kelly?
Mayor Crane.
Hazel Martin, Heather Thompson,
Adam Davy.
Verna Staples,
Vincent.
TJ Moore?
Carrie Florizano,
Craig Beaton.
Thank you. All discussions by council members, administration, and speakers shall be directed through myself as presiding officer. During the public hearing, we ask that you respect the views of everyone here and allow each person their time to speak without interruption. Each person wishing to speak will be given up to 5 minutes to make a presentation to council. I ask that you indicate if you are speaking on your own behalf, on behalf of another person or group of persons or an organization. When you are finished speaking, please remain at the front, as council may wish to ask you some questions. This hearing will be carried out in an orderly fashion in accordance with normal parliamentary procedures. Mr. Davy, acting CAO, you are the CAO, sorry. Can you please confirm whether the public hearing has been advertised and notice given in accordance with the requirements of the Municipal Government Act, please?
Confirmed, your worship.
Thank you. You may now have Ms. Florizone present the staff report and explain the purpose of the proposed amendments.
Your worship, for Ms. Florizone.
And for the public, when we come to the questions for or against, you'll sit here, turn on the microphone, you'll state your name, address, whether you're for or against, and then you'll speak. Okay, Ms. Florizone, floor is yours.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, large gallery. Welcome. As you stated, the bylaws before you are to amend both of our land use bylaws to facilitate removal of the Municipal Planning Commission. The other three tonight, the establishment of the Subdivision Authority Bylaw, Development Authority Bylaw, and repeal of the Municipal Planning Commission Bylaw, do not require public hearings, which is why you do not see them at this point in time. The major points in this, again, to remove the Municipal Planning Commission as a subdivision or development authority. We would remove all mentions of the Municipal Planning Commission throughout the two land use bylaws and replace anytime we see that with approving authority, development officer. However, the preferred approach moving forward, now that we'll hopefully have the development authority bylaw and the subdivision authority bylaw, is to use those phrases because those are defined in those bylaws. As well, this bylaw amends the variance power. several of you have sat on municipal planning commission, and you know that a lot of what you see are variance applications. And so without the municipal planning commission, those variance powers will have to be shifted somewhat. And again, the land use bylaw amendments are to integrate the wording of the development authority and subdivision authority bylaws. We'll see later. The proposed changes to the land use bylaw include the following additional restrictions on granting variances. So a variance may only be granted where it can be reasonably assessed that conformance would create undue hardship. And a variance is expressed to be a condition of development permit and notice is given, which we currently do. We're just making it very explicit. So there is no requirement under the Municipal Government Act to have a municipal planning commission. You can choose any subdivision and development authority that you see fit. As well, from a variance perspective, you can have essentially unlimited variances as long as they don't materially affect the use and enjoyment of a neighboring property, or you can have 0 variances and follow that, you know, a rule's a rule and you should abide by the rule. And anything in between. So the bylaws before you, the variance powers probably lean more towards we have the rules for a reason. And that's why those kind of landed there. And if we see that there are challenges in processing development permits moving forward, our expectation as administration would be to come and fix the actual rule rather than just keep doing variances, which is kind of just like putting Band-Aid on the bleed. This was initiated by administration as an idea to cut red tape, hopefully help some permits move faster, save some expenses.
Okay, excellent. We'll now go to council for questions of Carrie. Cindy, you can start us off.
Yeah, so just in regards to the variance, so, you know, in certain ones like 25%, 10%, all the numbers are clear in here. If something is above those variances, does that mean it's done? Or does then it have to come to council?
It would be,
It would be done. Okay, I just want to have that clear.
Development officer isn't present, as in we had change and turnover here on the Turner Valley side, pre-amalgamation of, I think, 4 planners in 4 years. Who, for a small town, is the development authority. So lacking a development authority, what is the method for an approval to take place, or would we hamstring all development?
no, so that would go to the development authority bylaw. Again, you're gonna see later this evening. The development authority bylaw starts at the CAO because all power essentially is vested in them, which then gets vested in me, which then gets vested in the development officer. So we have a pretty good slate of characters to choose from at this point in time. But if everything went to hell in a handbasket, we would still be able to defer back up to the CAO or the acting CAO to sign off. And we do have a standing services contract with a planning firm that in a pinch, we'd be able to push files to them to do the processing. And then again, worst case scenario, the CAO would sign off on them.
Excellent. Okay, good. Wanted to see what redundancies are in there. Sounds like you got quite a few. All right. Hazel, Heather, anything?
No, Terry already answered my question, is if it would speed things up for development. Also, just a note that the municipal planning commission is now formally formed as a committee. And many of the members of that, the commission have moved over, not many, but some of the members from the MPC have moved over to that committee.
Cindy, and then Hazel.
I am a little bit concerned with the 25% because we've seen so many, especially sheds and accessory buildings that are bigger than a 25% variance. So is that then it just falls on the landowner that they just have a non-compliant, like usually it's in real estate transactions. So if 25% is our limit, and we've often seen much, 40-50% ones, haven't been uncommon. Where does that leave residents? Like, is that ours?
Yeah, through the chair. So if an application came in that was non-conforming and required variance that was outside the variance authority granted in the land use bylaw, we would have to refuse it. In the circumstance where a certificate of compliance makes someone aware that their building is non-conforming, the expectation would be to make it conforming. If they could, fantastic. Hopefully we don't run into illegal buildings, but sometimes we do. And that's where buildings are built without the benefit of a permit. And again, when we find those and they do require a permit, we encourage that person to get a permit, or else we may have to start enforcement action on that structure or use.
Thank you. Hazel.
Thank you, Karen. I guess for me, what is the downside of not having an MPC? Other than the 2,000s in savings for their per diem?
The downsides to not having a municipal planning commission
Yes, removing it from the bylaws.
through the mayor, the business case that I provided to council and the municipal planning commission in the spring, I think clearly outlines my perspective. Most of what we have before us in terms of subdivision and development, there's a municipal development plan, there's an area structure plan, we have policies, we have procedures. We're working on bringing those, getting them a little tighter. With the amalgamation, there's still a lot of work. There was a lot of work that wasn't done prior to amalgamation. There's still a lot of work that has to be done post. And just small towns across the province, I've worked in a lot. We're all struggling to get our policies and processes in place. So from my perspective, once we have the direction from council on how development should proceed, and presumably the direction from council encompasses the wishes of the community, it's a technical exercise at that point. So from my perspective, I don't see a downside. Edmonton abolished their commission in 95.
Thank you very much, Karen.
Thank you. Brendan, Jonathan.
No, it's not.
Brendan, good.
Yeah, no, okay. I got comments. But I'll give it a bit.
Who approves area structure plans?
Council,
Who approves the MDP,
council,
intermunicipal development plan?
council,
Just so we're clear.
policies, council.
Everything exercise wise, it's administration, and we should not have our fingers in it. That's the idea. No, waiting for someone else to cut me off.
Yeah, we can debate it.
All right, sounds good. All right, let's see. Nothing further?
Sir.
Thank you, Ms. Horizontal. Written submissions. Mr. Davy, has the town received any written submissions not included in your staff report?
We have, your worship, we have one dated November 5th, which I sent you.
Right here. All right, I'm just gonna read this from notes. All right, November 5th, 2024, dear council members, with respect to the following, bylaw 2024-80 subdivision authority bylaw, bylaw 2024-81 development authority bylaw. So, okay, yeah, okay, we can do that. 2024-82 land use bylaw amendment, bylaw 2021-06 bylaw, 2024-83 land use bylaw amendment, bylaw 21-1114. I believe amending bylaws to remove the municipal planning commission, MPC, as a subdivision and development authority, and to change variance powers can have several potential negative impacts for town to consider. Here are some of my key concerns. By removing the MPC's role as a subdivision authority, the town council may be aiming to centralize decision-making processes. The MPC was perceived as a bottleneck or if its processes were deemed too slow or bureaucratic, transferring authority serves to expedite subdivision approvals. Is this streamlining to the benefit of citizens of Diamond Valley or developers? NPCs can include community representatives, which ensure that local voices of those that may not want to run for council are included in planning and development decisions. Removing the NPC can lead to fewer opportunities for public input, decision-making that is less transparent and less inclusive of community interests. The NPC brings together members with different backgrounds, experiences, and insights. Without the NPC, development subdivision decisions will lack the broader community perspective, potentially leading to choices that don't align with community needs or values. The NPC acts as a balancing force, adding oversight to decisions that could impact the town's future growth and development. Without this body, there will be less scrutiny, which could lead to decisions favoring certain developments without adequate evaluation of long-term community impact. By removing the NPC and adjusting variance powers, there may be less consistency in how variances are applied across the town. Does the town have personnel with the specialized expertise in development goals and challenges? I ask the council to reconsider making this amendment in the interest of transparency, inclusivity, and preserving community values. Thank you, Edward Crittenden. Right. Thank you, Edward. That will be added to the record. Any comments at this point? No? All right. At this point of the hearing, I will call upon anyone wishing to speak on the proposed bylaws. Please note that each party wishing to speak will have only one opportunity to do so. If you are speaking and or have already provided a written submission, please summarize your concerns. Council members may ask presenters questions for the purpose of clarifying the speaker's comments. Council will not debate this matter during the hearing. The decision regarding whether to grant the bylaws further readings will be dealt with later on in the agenda and or at a subsequent meeting if deemed necessary. At this time, I would ask administration if anyone has registered to sign in to speak to the proposed bylaws.
No, your worship.
Thank you. At this time, I would ask if anyone present in the gallery who has not yet spoken would like to speak to the bylaws. Please come forward, state your name for the record here in what we'd like to call the hot seat, but it's just center table. And the speaker is on, so you just sit down, state your name, your concern, and we may ask questions. Or against, doesn't matter how you feel, just, it's right there, have a seat. Yeah, Glenn, please.
If I may,
You may.
Chair,
Absolutely.
thank you for the opportunity. My name is Glenn Costello. I live at 212 Regent Road. I am speaking strictly on behalf of myself. I would like to question some of the comments. I forget the lady's name. One of the comments was to cut red tape. I don't understand the red tape. If I can speak on a past project, which was a major project 6 months ago, it was approved within 1 day. So to expedite permits, I don't know that we can get quicker than 1 day. As far as the red tape, I don't believe there was any red tape caused because the project was very much overlooked with all of the documents that were provided. So I don't know that it can get any quicker without really looking at it, therefore creating no red tape. I might also mention that the MPC was highly patted on the back by a council member suggesting what a great job they did. Going forward, should this happen, and by the way, I am not in favor of it, but going forward, should this happen, does that then mean one voice? Council is the voice, they make the decisions. No one from an NPC, because there is no longer an NPC, can discuss, argue, maybe try to sway. Is there one voice, the decision is made, end of question. And my second question is, would the development authority be, better educated in approving projects or accepting variances or making decisions on permits, trying to get them out the door as quickly as possible to expedite things? Is there any further education given to the development authority being able to move things ahead without mistakes, without causing members of the town problems down the road? Thank you, and I do welcome questions.
Okay, thank you. Any comments, any clarity required?
That's a good question.
Good question. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
I'm sure I got the second question. Jonathan, did you write that down?
Education. I think that would, yeah.
Glenn, if I could, are you referring to the education of the previous MPC members or future MPC members, what their education levels would be, or educating the development officers in their regards?
I guess for clarity, if I may, I would love to see the MPC stay. I'm not in favor of seeing them leave. I'd love to see those MPC members be educated and able to do the job that they were hired to do in a professional manner. I'm not saying there won't be mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. If the MPC should go, would the then development authority, would they be educated? Would they understand what a project is that they're looking at and the things that, or is it simply to cut red tape? Let's just approve this and get it out the door. We don't really need to spend too much time on it. That's how it's been treated in the past. Is that going forward the same as it would be with the development authority taking it over?
Yeah, I see exactly where you're going. Now it's clear. Jonathan?
Yeah, I think I can answer that, and definitely, to be quite honest with you, the development authority, that's our planning team.
Mhm.
So they're well beyond my education when it comes to planning.
Mhm.
We could probably ask Ms. Florzone how many years of education, the certificates that she has, the ongoing education that she gets every year. It's well beyond my scope.
And if I may comment to that, again, I can only speak to the project of which I was heavily involved in 6 months ago. I'm going to suggest that Miss, pardon me on the last name, anyhow, was rushed or pushed through or directed to cut the red tape. Let's just get this permit out. And that's what I don't want to see going forward with, whether it's the existing MPC, which I would love to think that we should remain in place so that there's a second voice. But if they're not, the development authority will then need to be educated as to how to do the MPC's job.
Your point is well made. I know it's very clear.
Thank you.
Heather, did you have a question for Glenn? For clarity?
Glenn, regarding this project, the MPC would have been in place for that, so I'm kind of wondering.
You're 100% right. The MPC was in place. If I can use the term very poorly directed or rush this project through, we need this to go with no red tape. And that's where this red tape thing, I keep thinking, how do we get less red tape than we had on that project? How do we get that project to pass? It received a permit within 1 day, and it's a major project. So I'm thinking council would like to remove MPC in order to cut the red tape
I
and
understand.
expedite this.
Mhm.
Can't go any faster than that, I don't believe it.
Okay, and that's very shocking to me that something went through in 1 day. It takes a lot of research and everything
Right.
from not only MPC, given reports, et cetera, plus our planning department. So that just surprises me that
Yes.
something got approved if it was a
And I-
major project and
I
why.
do have the documentation, but I didn't.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Glenn. Would anyone else in the gallery like to have a seat, and you can speak for or against the proposed amendments? And that is simply have a seat, name, address, for or against, voice your concern. By all means.
And I went through the whole process with this and I'm totally thinking the same as Glenn. And it just, when I look at that, I think, what is really behind it? Is it going to, as you say, is it going to get rushed through? It did get rushed through. It seemed very unfair. So anyway, actually, when I came here tonight, I did not know there was a hearing tonight. I thought, I looked up and it said a council meeting, so I thought, well, so I really did not know about this. So that's my question. And my name's Edith.
What's the question?
About the hearing. It was in the paper.
The hearing was in the paper.
Yeah, it's advertised in
Yeah.
Western Wheel for 2 weeks. And so that's how we started off. We asked, was it followed in accordance with the MGA? And if he says no, then we shut it down. Okay, so yeah, so it's advertised in the Western Wheel. And then if you read the agenda, you would saw right away that we would have the public hearing right in there too. So, all right. Okay, thank you for that. Anyone else? At this time, I'm going to call for last call for submissions verbally. Administration, have you received any written submissions? Just double checking.
Nothing further, your worship.
None? And no one has registered for the hearing to speak for or against?
No, your worship.
You? Have all speakers in the audience been heard? If not, I would ask that you come forward, sit at the center table and voice your concerns for or against. Going once, going twice, seeing none. Moving on. Final remarks. Does anyone in the audience or any person who has previously spoken wish to address any new information provided at this hearing? If so, please have a seat. And council may ask questions following any speaker. But again, it's just another check. Seeing none. Going once. Going twice. Administration, do you have any closing remarks in regards to any questions or concerns brought forward during the hearing?
If it's okay with council, through the mayor, address them at bylaw readings.
Yep, thank you. So you have them noted. We've got our notes. I'm going to follow them up anyway, so that's good. Okay, yep, totally fine with that. Council. Is council satisfied that they have obtained sufficient information through comments and for your consideration when deciding on this matter later in the agenda? Thank you. With that being said, I declare the public hearing for bylaw 2024-82 and bylaw 2024-83 closed at 7:06. All right. Bring that back up later. So later in the agenda, not too far here, we'll be addressing the same content. Right now, we're going to move on to delegations. 7.1, we have the Foothills Country Hospice Society Board Chair Alison Pichel and Executive Director Sean Dyer. Isn't Sean Dyer a public speaker of great renown?
My reputation.
You spell it, did I spell it wrong? Is that it?
No, that's not me.
Yeah, that's you, right? All right. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
The floor is yours. I'm gonna let you roll right into it.
So great. Mayor Crane and council, thank you so much for giving us the space tonight to speak for a few minutes about Foothills Country Hospice. The purpose for today's presentation is to situate our hospice in terms of history and service, to raise a bit of awareness about care challenges and access challenges and what we're doing about it, and to request consideration for financial support for our capital campaign. From our team today, on my left is our Board of Directors Chair, Allison Bickle. At the back is our Clinical Manager, Karen Teege, and Shannon Maximich, our Fund Development Officer. Foothills Country Hospice was opened as an 8-bed residential hospice in January of 2008. Quite possibly the first purpose-built hospice in the country. It was the brainchild of a group of passionate community members with a vision. We are governed by a volunteer board of directors, and our operations are partially funded by Alberta Health Services. Since 2008, Foothills Country Hospice has served approximately 1,600 residents, plus their families, since it opened in 2008. That's literally thousands of people who benefited from our compassionate care and service. So what is hospice care? Quite quickly, hospice care is compassionate expert care in a purpose-built facility for people who are dying. We focus on exemplary symptom management with attention to spiritual, psychological, and relationship concerns. And we support a person's family and close circle and help them in providing grief support. Who do we serve? Historically, our age ranges averaged from 60 to 99, though we have had younger. The median length of stay at Foothills Country Hospice is 14 days. And typically, the majority of our diagnoses are cancer, 83% cancer and 17% non-cancer. Where do our residents come from? This is exciting, and this is the reason, part of the reason why we're here tonight, is because 47% of our residents historically come from Foothills County and towns within. 5% come from other counties and cities, 53% come from Calgary. As Alberta's population grows and ages, demand for hospice care and services outpaces the available beds. By adding 8 new beds to the system, we're helping to reduce the amount of time people spend in acute care spaces and helping to ease the burden on the healthcare system. As I mentioned, we are in the process of, we're about 70% complete on an 8-bed expansion to move from 8 beds to 16. We're doubling our capacity. We are 75% successful towards our capital campaign goal of $15 million, which translates to just over $11 million so far. I'm proud to say that we have a commitment from Alberta Health Services to fund just over half of our operations. And it's going to enable us to expand our programming and services into the community. One of the things that our vision includes is taking hospice care into the community, because we don't have all this, the demand outpaces what we're able to provide. So we are thinking, why can't we take the hospice care into the community? And that's part of our significant vision. We are in the process of, as I mentioned, a capital campaign, Compassion and Action, the heartbeat of hospice. Our largest gift to date is $6.6 million from a single family donor. And then we have other funding support from Alberta government through the CFAT program, the Calgary Foundation, $1 million, as well as several individual businesses and foundation gifts, including support from Foothills County. The 3 areas of focus for Compassion and Action campaign are this: to build the physical expansion, to expand our programming, and to develop a sustainability and a sustainability fund. Over 16 years ago, before this was a hospice, where there was just a vision to provide exceptional end-of-life care in this community, before we secured AHS funding to support the vision in the community, in this community showed incredible support. We opened our doors in 2008 because this community saw what the hospice founders did, that a purpose-built rural hospice was what this community needed. You've helped us in the beginning, and we're humbly asking for consideration for helping now. Foothills Country Hospice is this community's hospice, and we ask you humbly again to consider supporting our campaign. For 16 years, Foothills Country Hospice has served this community, enjoyed the goodwill of its people. And again, we are asking the community to get behind our vision and back us to thrive in the next 16 years. And with that, I'm happy to take questions.
Excellent, thank you. Council. I know, Heather, I'll go over here first.
No, I have no questions. I'm a strong supporter of the hospice.
Here.
I've had family members stay with you.
I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Thank you, Heather.
I'm gonna ask the question of administration. We have a community support grant that is in the 2024 budget that has not been maxed out. So I would like to know what is remaining. I think it's about 16 in a bit. Yeah, so if I can ask administration where we're sitting at that?
Approximately, your worship. 15, 16, depending on where you go tonight, the next couple of meetings.
Cindy.
Yeah, I was just curious what the FCSS funding has been over recent years. Nick has those numbers.
Oh,
Oh, or
Are you asking
you
me?
do. Yeah.
oh.
But I think.
Go with
Min has it.
administration.
Yeah.
Thank you for the question, Councilor Holiday, and through the mayor. Yes, we are very aware of the excellent programs and services that are provided through the hospice. And we've been proud to support them on average for approximately $2,500 for the volunteer support, and that's annually. And I would suggest that between Turner Valley and Black Diamond formally, that was over the past 10 years.
Excellent. What's your current operating cost? Just curious.
Our operating budget's about $3.6 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
Big.
And Alberta Health Services funds us at about 57% of that. So the remainder is fund development and development work.
Nice. Cindy.
Do you know offhand by any chance what Diamond Valley residents, like I know you have the Foothills County numbers, have you broken it down to Turner Valley resident use?
I don't have those specific numbers. Those that's too fine a detail for what we're able to provide in terms of confidentiality and that
Yeah.
detailed reporting. We just have general location data.
Jonathan.
I love the fact that you're doubling. So how many people do you turn away because you don't have space?
Well, it's interesting. I wouldn't say we turn people away. We are part of the hospice operates within the Calgary zone of the hospice network in Calgary, in this zone. And there is a overarching system, a placement system that people are signed to, and then they provide their choices for hospice care. We would be one of those choices, and they endeavor to place them in their preferred locations.
Thank you.
And is there any specific amount that you guys are, obviously more is better, but
Yeah.
I gotta ask because I need to know
course.
the number of places.
Of course, the only reference that I could provide, and I'm not speaking out of turn, this is public knowledge. Foothills County provided what amounts to be about $1 per resident, $1 per citizen. So 25,000 essentially. That would be a frame. That would be a frame that you would consider. We're not here to ask for specifics. We're here to generally ask for consideration.
I love your approach on that because I just whispered to Councillor Kelly, maybe a per capita like we do for stars is not bad. So to know that the MD is doing the same, I think that's fantastic. I'm totally fine with that. Yeah. I'm in support.
Because we have ones in there. So we'll leave that motion when we're done.
Yeah, okay. I think we're good for you.
Unless there's any.
Wow, that was
Glad you have anything else. We'll make some motion. We can't make a motion right now, so we'll make some motions later.
Thanks for your time.
You bet.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks. So you were very well done. Cheers.
Great presentation.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's good. All right, moving on, 7.2. Woodmasters Darren Croker and Susan Wright. Come on. Yeah. Mr. Croker, Woodmaster Homes, how are you, sir?
Good, how are you?
Is Susan with you tonight?
She is.
Yeah.
The commercial.
She's dodging.
Not here.
This chair is certainly warm.
Sucked right away in there.
Not really the hot seat.
Thanks, Susan. Yeah, so good evening, Mayor Crane, members of the Don Valley Council and staff. As we already said, my name is Darren, and I'm the president, also owner of Master Homes. And it was started in 1973 by my father, Alan, who's in attendance tonight, and Bernice. So most of you are aware Woodmaster Homes has been building custom homes in Diamond Valley for over 20 years. We've been diligently working on creating a legacy of fine homes and vibrant communities. As a second generation builder, we have worked hard to partner well with the towns, developers, homeowners, communities to ensure that we leave a lasting legacy that we can be proud of. Locally, we have created jobs, purchased materials, and supported both Black Diamond and Trinity Valley with donations and charitable events. We have been a great professional partner with the towns to assist in creating a beautiful place to live and work in. Tonight, I am here presenting to you our issues attempting to work with the planning department team members of the town of Diamond Valley relating specifically to the return of security performance deposits. Typically, we pay around $3,000 in compliance deposits to the town during our development permit application stage, with the expectation that we will receive these deposits once our duties have been completed and verified by the town. In the last almost 20 years or so, the planning department has accumulated about $150,000 of outstanding compliance deposits. You heard that right, $150,000. To assist with Woodmaster in receiving these deposits, we hired Susan Wright, who's also a proud Woodmaster homeowner, as actually some of you also are. And the last, so we hired her in January of 2023. And on the almost last 2 years, her principal role has been to oversee the return of these security deposits from both municipalities of Diamond Valley. After about a month of compiling data and background after Susan was hired, we introduced her to Denise, Judy, and Shelley. And they were informed that she would be working with Woodmaster to facilitate the process of receiving our outstanding compliance deposits. Here's an account of our last 2 years. We'll start on a town-by-town basis, so it's in Black Diamond, since this started sort of during amalgamation. After Susan's introduction to the planning department in January 2023, she received emails advising her that the historical data would need to be merged following amalgamation. Little did we realize how exhaustive this effort would be. After following up weekly, Susan received the Black Diamond list on March 30th, 2023. The list consisted of 59 properties and $130,100 in outstanding security deposits. Susan began submitting the request for return of our security deposits on April 3rd, 2023. We had been advised we needed to submit the request form, RPR compliance, and the as-built grades, which is also previously submitted as part of our development process. Susan was primarily working with Shelley at this time to provide any documentation that she may require. Susan submitted 54 property requests for refunds to Shelley between April 3rd to June 6th, 2023. The remaining 5 properties have since been submitted. Shelley did not provide any timeline to Susan with respect to the progress she was making on her file. Finally, on July 10th, 2023, Susan sent an email to Denise and Shelley requesting an update. Denise confirmed that she was unaware of our submissions to Shelley and had not seen any of these files. However, Denise expressed that she would inspect 30 homes prior to her vacation in July. After her vacation on July 30th, we were advised by Denise that of the 30 properties reviewed, only 1 security deposit could be returned to Woodmaster Homes. I requested a report of which Denise had not yet compiled. I then requested a meeting with Denise and it was scheduled for August 31st. We were allotted a half-hour time slot. During this meeting, Denise informed us that 29 of the 30 properties failed her inspection. Furthermore, she would not perform any more inspections until these deficiencies had been corrected. As I was completely startled, I asked why the properties had failed. She confirmed that most of the issues were related to positive drainage, which is typically verified by Woodmaster with their grades compliance, which is completed by a certified surveyor. In this case, it's by Absolute Surveys, who's out of Okotoks, who has an excellent reputation. Denise confirmed that there was no written tolerance and was primarily up to her discretion. In this scenario, how are we supposed to meet compliance when there are no written standards? I spoke several times with Kent from Absolute Surveys to get his general sense of what tolerance is, and confirmed it's typically between 4 to 6 inches. When I suggested this to Denise, she seemed to take note of it. However, no benchmark was established and still is not to this day that I know of. I was hoping that Denise would use her discretion to determine that the properties were within typical tolerance. Ironically, on September 13th, we received a $1,500 compliance refund on a property that had not been approved. I was perplexed, and I guess we still are to this day. Directly after the August 31st meeting, we began to dissect each development deficiency letter for each property, and compiled a spreadsheet to have a better idea of what was transpiring and the reasoning behind the failures. As it turned out, there had been 28 total properties reviewed, and a breakdown of the reports is as follows. 9 failed due to no as-built grades, even though these were originally submitted to Shelley. 17 failed due to grading having significant change from plans. However, there was no indication why they failed, because there's still no objective standard set. 4 failed due to landscaping not completed by the homeowners. 2 failed due to permanent house numbers not being on homes. However, after Susan and I drove by, you could see the permanent numbers securely fastened to the homes. 1 failed due to a fence being installed on the right of way, which is not done by Woodmaster, it's done by the owner. 4 failed due to trees not being planted in the front or backyard. The notice of decision specifies 2 trees to be planted on the property and does not specifically note they have to be in the front yard. One could also be in the backyard. However, the developer is responsible for planting the trees, not Woodmaster Homes, and therefore it should not be on the notice of decision, but rather an agreement with the developer. In September of 2023, Susan and I performed a site visit to each of the non-compliant properties. We found that the properties were beautifully landscaped. All of them appeared to have positive drainage. We've had no complaints from any of the homeowners regarding grading or drainage. Properties inspected by Denise were built between 2017 and 2022. And if there were any issues, do you not think you had heard about them prior to that? On October 18th, 2023, we requested a follow-up meeting with respect to the deficiencies. Present at the meeting was Denise, Carrie, Susan, and myself. Since this was our first meeting with Carrie, we found her to be very interested in finding a solution in order to return our security deposits. We were very encouraged. After about an hour of general discussion, finally, Denise suggested she would sign off on the compliance deposits if Woodmaster were to obtain another surveyor's endorsement confirming the positive drainage for each property, even though we have complied to every single regulation to that point. This is ridiculous. Even though I confirmed that we've supplied all of these drainage certificates, I agreed to hire another surveyor to spend another $500 per property, which totals another $16,500 to date on the current request for returns that we have. Since we submitted $16,500 worth of stamp letters with the hopes that staff would eagerly return our deposits. After a full year, with little to no progress, I followed up with the meeting with Denise on October 29th, 2024, so not long ago. During that meeting, Denise confirmed she had not processed our requests. Furthermore, she said that she was now not able to release the security deposit because some new issues had come up. Primarily, she was concerned that the boulevards needed to be seeded or grassed, that some of the driveways were too wide. So my question to her was, rather than just dealing with one person, could I release 30 different homeowners to formally come to the town to complain about all of this? To me, this is a mute issue. I sent a follow-up email to Denise on October 30th for clarification of these items that she had come up with or that had come up with in discussion in the department, but I have not received a response from her, which is typical. It is noteworthy that it seems the planning department is moving the goalpost yet again. That's Black Diamond. So Turner Valley, we've had even greater difficulty receiving, if you can believe it, the list of outstanding security deposits for Turner Valley. Since Susan started in January of 2023, we have only received 3 partial compliance deposits. Even though both towns have amalgamated, both retain their previous development application processes. Judy requested a list she could cross-reference with, which Susan submitted on July the 10th. There were 80 properties compiled on that list, 80. Susan began submitting the request for returns immediately. On January 26th of 2024, we received Judy's spreadsheet itemizing the properties with outstanding security deposits, a year from our first request, again. At that time, we were told by Judy she would not be looking at returning our security deposits until such a time that Black Diamond properties were sorted out, if that makes any sense. It is not fair to hold ransom or security deposits due to internal staff issues. To date, we have not received any feedback as to when we will be obtaining any refunds for the security deposits in Turner Valley. 6 months later, I followed up with Judy again and asked for an update on her files. At that point, there was still no progress, so I requested her to dedicate at least 4 hours a week processing our files. Judy provided this response. As I communicated last week, we were meeting this past Monday, June 3rd, 2024. We will endeavor to work through the files as best we can, given the workload we are under. Any further queries in this regard should be directed to our planning manager, Perry Florazone. So in both instances, even though we were working with Denise and Black Diamond and Judy and Turner Valley, because of their, I guess, inability or whatever to make an authoritative decision to return our compliance deposits, they were deflected to Perry Florazone. On June 26th, Darren sent an email to Kerry requesting response. On August 2nd, we received an email from Kerry with no definitive answers as to when we can expect any of our security deposits. During this process, Susan has had 28 unanswered emails from the planning department. In conclusion, I request that council, mayor, staff to provide an objective time frame from when you can receive our outstanding compliance deposits. If you have not already done so or are not aware of the curb appeal of our communities, I urge you to take a drive through Riverwood Estates phases 1 through 4, also Blue Rock Heights and Turner Valley. These subdivisions boast appeal and aesthetic and enhance our town. Why are these compliance deposits being withheld in a process that we have participated so fairly in? I politely request these deposits to be returned as soon as possible so that we can all move forward together. And of course, we look forward to working cooperatively with the planning department to finalize this process and to put this all behind us. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Well, that is a large pill to swallow. First off, I'm gonna apologize. I'm a little dumbstruck, to be honest. I'm a builder as well. And I whine when I have to put up money that I could properly use to build a house, to pay for some upgrade that I can't afford now. no different than 10,000 off to the government of Alberta for a warranty that's never gonna get used. So I feel you, and I'm really disappointed, that's all I can say. And we're gonna take some action here. So how many in total right now? I wrote down 59 properties.
You're asking me how many properties are we?
Are outstanding right now.
So on the sheet that we provided.
I'm assuming the green ones you would consider thumbs up, yeah,
Yes.
right.
Well, the green ones are the ones that we're waiting for.
The green ones, yes, are the ones that we're waiting for the security deposit to be returned. And that we have, submitted the lot grade certificates, the additional one that we were paying $500 a lot.
Right.
The ones that are white, we have not submitted those final lot grade certificates yet, because there's no point us, Woodmaster Homes, having more costs incurred if there's nothing coming back.
Okay, so 59 highlighted green.
There's, Susan can verify that, in the follow-up email, but there's roughly around there.
I'll go to Jonathan first.
Yeah, thanks for bringing this forward and in such a calm manner. I appreciate that and the diligence in detail. I love details. I love making data-driven decisions, and thank you for being so precise. Question I do have, and it's unfortunate that you had to go back and spend another $500 per site for a second lot grade certificate. So $16,500 extra. Because it was a second lot grade certificate, did it show deficiencies from the first grade certificate?
So going back to Kent's, so Kent is the owner of Absolute Surveys, and when I asked him about that, what typical variant is, he said it between 4 to 6 inches. He said there was no problems anywhere.
Okay, so I do have a second follow-up, because this is not my area of expertise. So through administration, with our planning team, what support do we have from a planning perspective to present to the builder that the grade is incorrect? What was used to give that advice to the builder, where the builder then had to go back and redo the certificates?
Thank you. Mr. CAO.
Thanks, worship. You got a response, Ms. Floresville?
Through the chair, the expectation is when we make an approval that the building needs the approval. In some instances, like they said, it hasn't, in some, I'm sure it has. We haven't got to them.
So do we have a surveyor that does the survey to look at the difference between 4 to 6 inches? Or is it just a discretionary visual done by the development officer?
Yeah, through the mayor, when a house, for example, is approved, there is a lot grading plan that is approved with that house approval. So it's the expectation of the planning department that the house that's built, that the as-built grades meet the approved grade slip. So if there is a 20% slope that shows up in the as-built where a 6% was approved, that's a concern for us.
So just help me out here. I go in to build, I put in the as-built, I put in the grades that I'm expecting to do. Development officer comes in order to release the security deposit that I've just done. What mechanism, physical mechanism is used to support a deficiency in that grade? Is it just a visual where our development officer comes in, or is there, what tool is being used?
Yeah. So,
Is there a survey tool?
yes, so through the mayor, we compare the approved lot grading plan, that's the plan that we base the approval on. And then the developer brings the as-built, which Darren provided the as-built. And then we compare what was approved and what was built. If you built what was approved, very simple. If you don't build what was approved, much more complicated because now you have a house that exists that wasn't built to its approval. And where do we go from that? We don't want them to tear down the house. That would be ridiculous in 98% of cases. And so that's where the complications and the time and the security deposit policies and discretion and variances and permit approvals after the fact to help with those deficiencies to make them compliant. It's potentially a very large process.
Yeah, no, and I want to make it clear, I'm not attacking anyone here. It's just to make sure that I fully understand the process so that if council makes a direction to get this resolved, we're well aware of what direction we're giving so that it actually can be completed. I don't want to give direction that is pointless. I mean, I have a massive concern, 150 Gs sitting on the table here when my understanding is these homes are currently occupied. Many of the residents have invested their own money in landscaping. So that is a concern for me, but I just can't, I would be more than willing to say, get this done next week. But I need to know what processes are in place so that we can facilitate the workload that the town has, but also supporting our residents here.
Okay, I'm gonna go to Adam first, and then I'm gonna come back to Sue. Okay, Adam?
Yeah, thanks, your worship. Totally get it. Very frustrating file. The owner, planning, everyone. So just to give you an idea, I started looking into this. We're about 400 files in the queue. With a full-time staff, we might be able to get through 1 or 2 a day. You'll see later in the agenda, we have a policy that actually eliminates all securities in the future. It's just too time consuming, as you're hearing, to actually administer it. So how to fix it from here? Full-time staff, 6 months temp, and I will just launch them. 2025.
Keep that in mind while we continue here. Cindy?
I think that just gave me more questions than answers. So we have variances for, setbacks and sides, but we don't have anything for grade, do we? Like, the land use bylaw doesn't talk about, I'm just looking through it because it's on our agenda tonight, all the variances. I see nothing in regards to grade, the few inches, that seems to be contested here. What is reasonable and what is not. But we also have, property responsibility bylaw saying if the drainage from one property is adversely affecting another, they have to fix it. So to me, that's the catch up. Is it not for, to me, I mean, yeah, this is crazy if we don't have a hard and fast rule for a variance on grade.
So great points right there. Carrie, please.
Yeah, of course. So the land use bylaw requires positive drainage and that you don't adversely affect a neighboring property. The approach that we've been taking since my meeting with Darren, as he said a year ago, and I admit to that, it's been a drawn out process due to capacity problems. And the slam of applications for subdivision and redesignation that we had this year. What we proposed is when we get the as-built, what we're literally doing is we're lining up the street. And when the as-built don't match the grading plan, what we're doing is we're going, okay, this one has this grade, this has this grade. Do those match? Do those meet? Are they creating positive drainage the way that they're supposed to? Yes. Okay, let's look at the next 2. And then we're going literally house by house down the street with the plans to try and rectify the problem. So we're not trying to create additional roadblocks, but we have to do our due diligence that if we take a security deposit, we take it to ensure the conditions of the permit are met and that the town infrastructure is protected. And so we have to go through the process to ensure those things are done before we can return the security.
We're gonna go to Heather, and then if I can, I'm just gonna make a suggestion, Heather, but I think this here is gonna require some closed discussion. As we have mentioned some personnel names, I don't wanna go crossing any lines. For sure, and there's definitely sensitivities there. However,
I was also gonna suggest that this should go into closed. We don't want to be attacking anyone in open. But one of my questions was, Adam, like some of these are dated way before amalgamation. So I'm having a tough time with the timelines on what you're proposing. I think that we're gonna have to figure out something, so we need to have those discussions in camera.
yeah, and just to clear it up, totally get it. You know, when I see something out there 2018 that hasn't been paid out,
2016.
yeah, like, well, you know, I need glasses now, so I don't want I saw. But, Adam wasn't here during those times, nor Carrie, nor Vin. Right, so we have a whole new team, a broad team that's a move forward team. And they're facing the challenges right now of what we're being dealt. This is the past, but we need to get this cleaned up. So I'm gonna ask you to give us a little bit of patience. You've done the right thing in my mind, bringing it up to us. Definitely well beyond your patience level for sure. And again, I apologize. I think we move on from here. We're gonna have a new camera session at the end of today's meeting and discussion.
Stick around after the meeting.
So thank you.
Thank you very much for your consideration.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks for your patience and candor tonight.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
I do want to speak to Darren's patience and his professionalism, and I really appreciate both of these people that came today.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Gary. We can. Yeah. We'll just keep it down. It's coming in, they don't- right? Yeah, we'll put some, yeah, we can do that one, for sure. All right, Cindy, let's start with you.
Yeah, I'll make a motion, that we're gonna the agenda to add a closed session after. The rest of the meeting.
That'll be 27, section 27.
Yeah.
Personal, or 24. 24?
Point section.
I will insert that into your motion if you
Sure.
find my book is on my desk.
Sounds good. Again, has to be unanimous, just so everybody's aware. Jonathan?
No, that's, we haven't voted on it yet.
Discussion? All in favor? That's carried unanimously.
I have a motion.
Yes, please, thank you.
So regarding the Foothills Hospice, I would like to make a motion that we match dollar for dollar, similar to what the Foothills County has done, to use our current community support services grant to provide support for this build using the current 2024 budget.
And you just want to add a per capita?
Yeah, $1 per capita, sorry. $1 per capita.
$1.
Per person right in our town.
Price is right.
Yeah.
All right, excellent, thank you. Any discussion on that? I would just say,
John's got two great motions.
I know, you're gonna have to catch up, thanks.
Did you want that?
No, I'm happy to have, no.
All in favor?
Being kicked the bum.
Is it-
Pull here, Heather.
Kicker.
Are you in favor?
Are you favorite?
Hospice?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I didn't want you to be left out on that one.
No.
Passionate to your heart. All right, thank you. Good motions, thank you. 8.1 bylaws and policies. Let's get to about 8.5 here and then we'll take a quick bio break. So 8.1 bylaw 2024-80 subdivision authority bylaw. Oh yeah, just where you come up, plant out here now.
I'm going to.
Yeah, yeah. All right, okay, Ms. Gordon, over to you.
Yes, thank you. Hello again. So there are 5 bylaws, 80, 81, 82, 83, 63. All starting with 2024. They are the subdivision authority bylaw, development authority bylaw, land use bylaw amendment for the Black Diamond land use bylaw, land use bylaw amendment for the former Turner Valley bylaw, and repealing the MPs. There's a typo there, my bad. MPC, Municipal Planning Commission, MPC bylaw.
MPC,
Yeah.
that's right.
MPC.
PC.
Again, as discussed in the public hearing overview, the big takeaways here are who approves subdivisions, who approves developments, what powers do they have? I'm going to just assume you've read your packages and the bylaws, and we want to just get into
Yep,
details,
absolutely.
or if you would like me to address anything from the public hearing off the bat.
As we, well, actually, did anyone jot down? I only had,
I have pages.
yeah, so Glenn brought up a good question, and I thought, the second part he clarified. I wanted some clarity on the first one. So, does this create, by removing it, a one voice scenario? More or less the general comment. And just wanted to throw it back to council. If you believe that this is something that hinders our voice, or does it actually align with thoughts? So to me, it aligns with thoughts, let's put it that way, that we don't want to waste more time on small, insignificant garage variances and so on, small things. Big things are in our wheelhouse and will be notified. This is to streamline the small things that you put 8 people on an NPC board to come and talk about. Well, Cindy's got a whole handful of them, but a 10% variance of a shed encroaching on a property line. Well, you just wasted everybody's night to make one motion and you're done the meeting in 15 minutes. You know, those small little things don't need an NPC board when administration can handle it. Council's job is to look high vision, area structure plans, municipal development, and so on. Everything that breaks down within that falls to administration. That's my thought. So I believe that it's not going to create a one voice. And I think the previous delegation was a good example. If something were to go along, a resident can come as a delegation and say, you know what, I really feel I've been wronged on this specific. That would be essentially another avenue for them to really voice, but it would have to be something that was really, really offensive to them, to the point where, okay, I'm gonna do something. But a garage, small variances, I'm totally fine with. So that's my thought. Heather.
Thanks, Mayor Crane. And just for clarity, Carrie, so regarding the subdivision authority, if there's any change to the actual subdivision, that would just go to you, that would have to go back to council, correct? Like if there's a major change to a subdivision approval, or no, not an existing approval that has to change because it's been sitting around for 10 years and the new developer wants to change it, that would have to come back to council, would it not?
Thank you so much.
So through the chair, the only way that a subdivision approval could hang around for 10 years is if we've given it a lot of time extensions. And typically when things change, 10 years is pushing it.
Well, we've seen it in this town.
Interesting. So the subdivision authority bylaw proposes that the CAO or the planning and development manager be the approving authority for areas which are consistent with any statutory plan affecting the lands and which comply with the land use bylaw.
Okay.
We may delegate specific applications to other staff. And so that is to ensure that if there's a level of complexity that I feel I need greater oversight and signing authority on, I can retain that.
Okay.
However, if there's something like a boundary adjustment that any member of my staff could handle, then I could delegate that to them. And then additionally, that council be the subdivision approving authority for all other applications. So if an application came in that was inconsistent with the statutory plans that council has approved, then you would retain the approving authority for those files.
Yeah, that's.
So that would be like a rezoning, perhaps like from an R1 to an R3 or something in that nature?
So through the mayor, redesignations will always be the purview of council because it is a land use bylaw amendment, which is a council approved document. It's bylaw.
Heather, I'm gonna go down to Cindy.
Yes, sir.
Cindy.
I think there's some general misconceptions on how much flexibility there is or isn't. Like, I think people think that planning is more of an art, but it's actually quite a science. It is very, very rule based. And unfortunately, we found my 7 years on MPC is that the members that large and even council members, including myself, we sometimes get caught up into the emotions of it and forget, we lose sight that if something complies, it complies and it has to be approved. right? That there's no, that we get into all these weird little side tangents that are completely wrong. So, and yes, you would hope that training, but it is really hard to get people to even volunteer. They're doing it out of goodness of their heart to come and be on MPC. And to get people up to the level of training that a planner has on these very, very specific rules, I think is impossible. Me as a 7-year member, I still feel like I have a lot to learn. And that sometimes I do step on, Carrie reins us in pretty good and says, that's not even a valid something that you can even talk about in this application. So I am more than happy to stay up at the higher level. If we have a good land use bylaw, which I'm hoping is going to be a priority on the next term for the next council. And if we, as you see later in the agenda, we're requiring area structure plans for big parcels of land. And we are the redesignation going from, R1 to R3. I think that is all the oversight that we need. And I've been on the other side being an applicant coming to MPC. And you never know what you're gonna get with members at large or counselors that don't know their role. And that you can have something overturned on just basically emotion. And that adds a lot of stress to a developer. You also have to meet, so if you have to get an application in for an agenda, that has to be in like 2 weeks prior or whatever it is. And then you have to wait for the next meeting. So you could, if you miss that agenda deadline, you could be like 5-6 weeks later before it even goes to MPC. So you could miss shovels in the ground before winter easily because of something like that. And then quorum doesn't show up and then, you're having to rebook. So to me, that's what, and then the amount of staff time it takes to write these reports, like the level of detail to teach and train at the same time you're getting somebody to approve it. Especially if it's a subdivision or something that we haven't seen for a while because we've been doing shed variances every meeting for 10 months. Like the amount of staff time to write those reports and to make sure that you've dotted every I and crossed every T and that you've explained it perfectly. I don't like it. So I am more than happy to just say we require area structure plans. We're going to focus on a good land use bylaw. In some ways, I find now that we're restricting variances in the way that you've got proposed, we're actually making it, we're kind of raising the bar on some of these things because somebody could come with a much bigger variance MPC. And because we like the guy or whatever, we get sold based on emotions. Bigger variances have been getting approved. That's why I questioned you on the 25%. So in some ways we're making things stricter with this. At the same time, it's easier for the developer. That it's just you follow the rule. If you've got a good land use bylaw and you follow all the rules, it gets approved. There's none of this emotion and this fear of coming to this unknown body of volunteers that are trying to figure things out. So I'm more than sold on this. I hope that it helps clean up some of the planning issues that we have.
Well put. Councillor Kelly.
Yeah, I'm just gonna follow up quickly too, because as a former sitting member, I share a lot of the same sentiments that Cindy does. The area structure plans are critical, obviously, so are the bylaws that we have in place. And we'll work on those. But in large part too, one of the big conversations that we've been having for months with Carrie and the planning department was that staff time that you mentioned. And it's interesting that Woodmasters and Darren was here tonight and we're talking about the overwhelming amount of files that the town has to deal with. And when we burden our administration with a shed variance and we use up more staff time, residents like Darren and his family get put on the back burner because our admin have to meet those deadlines for the applications that are being put forward by our other residents. So we're trying to do our best in terms of aligning best practice with our administration without burdening our residents with a higher tax increase because we need more planning. So we're moving forward with the MDP. Cindy touched on volunteers. We were able to take the EDC John? EDC volunteer members, the MPC members, we were able to form a really strong team with the MDP that we're looking at right now that's in motion. And this doesn't mean that the MPC is off the table forever. This is just a step so that we can use the residents that are passionate about planning and development right now that we have, and putting that MDP together so that we can look at the future. I think that's what we're looking for right now. So yeah, I just wanted to speak to the staff time.
Yeah, I can't say it any better than you guys did. Heather has one more comment, and then I think
I would like to put second reading for.
that's what I was looking for.
This
Excellent.
council gives second reading to bylaw 2024-80.
Thank you. Any comments, council? Seeing none, all in favor? And that is carried. And get a third, Sam.
The council gives second reading to bylaw,
No, just be third.
or, sorry, I'm on the third one, third reading to bylaw 2024-80.
Thank you. Any comments, concerns? Questions, clarity? Seeing none, all in favor? It's carried, thank you. Moving on to 8.2. 4-81, Development Authority bylaw.
So the summary of this is that the Municipal Government Act requires the municipality to provide a development authority to exercise development powers and perform duties on behalf of the municipality. The development authority may consist of municipal officials, a municipal planning commission, and intermunicipal planning commission, service agency, or any other person or organization. Which goes to my previous comments about should we ever need to call in our planning consultants to exercise that role, you could do so. So the Development Authority bylaw proposes that the CAO, the planning and development manager, planner, or development officer be the development authority for the town, which are all roles that we have signed contracts for, except in respect of a direct control district where council's the development authority unless it has delegated such authority in the land use bylaw.
Thank you. Councillor Kelly.
Yeah, just a quick comment here. Just to highlight the resources and the financial impacts here. $2,000 doesn't seem like a lot. But when you break down that 250 hours of staff time, that's over it's over 6.5 weeks of work if you're looking at a 40-hour week work. Plus overtime, yeah, and the meetings as well, if that's what you're alluding to. Yeah, so again, trying to find efficiencies. I'm just trying to highlight this for the members here that we have and for anybody else watching online. I'm not gonna put CAO Davies on the spot and ask how much 250 hours of staff time would cost the town, but it's a substantial amount, no doubt, and it's not $2,000. So I just wanted to highlight that as we go through these reviews to make sure that the residents and ourselves are aware that this is, again, a great deal of efficiencies and best practice. So well done, Carrie.
Our planning consultant charges $130 an hour.
There you go. We don't need any more of that. Wait, Councillor Gordon.
Yeah, and I think this is a relevant time. One of the concerns of the resident during the open session was about the expertise involved and about the need to educate. The question was, would the development authority be educated enough to make these types of decisions? And for clarity, the development authority either is our CAO or the planning team. So let's have some fun. Let's say I decide to change careers and I want to become a planner. Tell me the process.
I have an undergraduate in geomatics engineering from the University of Calgary. I worked as a corporate GIS educator for a large land surveying firm before I went back and got my 2 years master's degree in community planning. After that, I had to do basically this amounts to an articling period. Most professional engineers are familiar with that, or doctors, lawyers, anybody in a profession. Once I met the requirements of my mentorship with my ethics component and my breadth and depth of professional planning experience to meet the satisfaction of my sponsor, submitted my logbook, did a written and oral exam, then finally got my registered professional planner designation. I'm required to do continuous professional learning every year. which typically cannot be met even at our annual conference. So I have to find ways to meet that, going out into the community or teaching courses on my own time. So, yeah, there's been some investments. And then in addition, my daily job is about 2,000 hours a year that I do my work, and I have actually a really great support network behind me. I think I joked to the MPC one day that, do you have a planner in your pocket? Because I have 8 registered professional planners in my pocket that I could literally text right now and be like, hey, that requirement for slope stability, something's itching at the back of my brain that we shouldn't be sending that to council. And literally one of the people in my network said, oh yeah, the subdivision development regs, I think it's section 8. Thank you.
So I think the point I'm trying to make, and thank you so much, and I really appreciate your expertise. It's remarkable. And all the different variables that have to come into play to be where you're sitting. It's really good to know that we have that in our planning team. So thanks for that investment. When it comes to, I think you highlighted it already, but Gary Robb used to say it well, right? When the horse is dead, it's time to dismount, but I'm gonna keep beating this dead horse. Because I'm a huge fan of education, and I'm a huge fan of expertise, and I'm a huge fan of having the right people on the bus. So you're not available. Tell us a little bit about the external resources we have.
So let's say, heaven forbid, I had to go on medical leave. I was in a car accident and I was unavailable. On our staff right now, we have Kimberly, who is a planner. She has 20 years experience. She's currently acting as our subdivision officer. She'd be capable of taking on 95% of my workload in terms of experience and knowledge. The capacity situation would become a situation. But we do have a planning consultant that we essentially pay a retainer for, and they provide professional planning services. They have 3 offices that we work with on a regular basis. There's about 3 or 4 professional planners. We have an Alberta land surveyor. We have a multitude of engineers, and should it ever need to, and whenever I need to do my due diligence as well, we also have a legal team that the town pays for.
Yeah, and the reason I bring that up, one of the comments made by the resident as well was in regards to a comment I have made, and I've made it publicly, and I don't mind. I have complete confidence in the decisions MPC has made because of the work that the planning team has done. And you proved tonight that foundation, that faith is substantive. It's not misplaced. So I want to thank you so much for that. And with that, I would love to give second reading to bylaw 2024-81.
Perfect, thank you. Segue, excellent. I'm gonna let you have third though.
No, I don't even want
Can I? Get any other comment?
Did you like that?
That was solid. Thank you for those questions. Thank you for those answers. All in favor? That's carried. Give us third.
That council give bylaw, or so, excuse me, that council give third reading to bylaw 2024-81.
Thank you. Any further comments, concerns, questions? Now's your time. Seeing none, all in favor? And that is carried. All opposed? 8.3, bylaw 2024-82, land use amendment to BD's bylaw 2021-06. They're up on the board.
So this is a land use amending bylaw. Council's the approving authority for bylaws to remove the mention of municipal planning commission throughout and replace approving authority, development officer, municipal planning commission with development authority. Define the variance powers of the development authority. The ability to grant variance is granted within the land use bylaw itself. As I've talked about, the Municipal Government Act provides a pretty broad interpretation of what can receive a variance. The proposal aligns in such a way that a variance should not unduly interfere with the amenities of the neighborhood and would not materially interfere or affect the use, enjoyment, or value of neighboring parcels of land. And the proposed changes to land use bylaw include additional restrictions on granting variances, including that it may only be granted where it can be reasonably assessed that conformance would create undue hardship, that the variance is expressed to be a condition of the development permit, and that's a requirement of the MGA, and that notice of the variance is given to the public.
Excellent, thank you. You giving me a motion?
I will, I just want to speak first.
Sure.
So, Carrie, thank you for all your work on this. Your previous report that was presented, months ago, regarding the MPC, and plus the discussions and the explanations from fellow counselors and yourself, during this meeting. I'm very comfortable with, putting forward second reading to bylaw 2024-82.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am, Councillor Merton.
So when you say notice of a variance is given to the public, in what form is that given, Carrie?
Yes, so the current procedure is to do a sandwich board on the property where the variance is given.
That's 30 days, correct?
2 weeks.
It's 2 weeks now?
I think it's 2 weeks.
I can't recall off.
I thought it was 2 weeks.
I feel Turner Valley was. There you go.
So the appeal period is 21 days.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, go ahead, Cindy.
I think we haven't mentioned it before, the importance of having that SDAB is really the backstop to all, like, really the thing that makes this all possible. Because if we do something or the planner doesn't approve something or does approve it, something that shouldn't have been based on very clear rules, the SDAB can obviously reverse it. So that is a regional board of people that have usually have planning and other experience and other professional credentials that get them on that board. And we pool it between all our neighboring communities, so we can make sure we have people on that. And that really is the backstop. Or the backstop may not be the right word, but you get what I'm saying.
Fun stuff for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
It gives us some measure of comfort that there's another layer of this process.
That's a good point to actually bring up.
They're a separate entity, correct, Cindy? But there's no member of council, but it's not.
It's not.
All right, any further comments? All in favor? And seeing Brendan is not there, I will. The council give third reading to bylaw 2024-82. Any further comments, concerns? All in favor? That's carried, thank you. 8.4, bylaw 2024-83, land use bylaw amendment to Turner Valley's bylaw, previous bylaw 21-1114. Can carry.
Rinse and repeat of the previous, but for the other bylaw on the other side of the river.
Exact same things, just Heather.
You'll notice that the bylaw is on first glance substantially different, but it's because our bylaws are written pretty different.
Again, this is nice to align to one. I'll make that comment. Heather?
I'll put forward second reading to bylaw 2024-83.
Thank you. Comments, concerns, same. All in favor? Thank you, Jonathan. Oh, Hazel's on it.
That council gives third reading to bylaw 2024-83.
Thank you. Concerns, comments, last call. Seeing none, all in favor? Carried, thank you. 8.5 bylaw 2024-63, repealing of the MPC, grammatical error right there, so just everyone note that. Brendan.
Scary, you want to speak to this first?
If council has passed bylaws 80, 81, 82, and 83, which you have, bylaw 63, thank you, Brenner, for your help, is the housekeeping item to now repeal the municipal planning commission, which does not appear in either land use bylaw.
So the council give second reading to bylaw 2024-63.
Thank you. Comments? Very clear. Now it's paperwork. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, can I get a third there, Jonathan?
Sure. That council give third reading to the bylaw 2024-63.
Thank you. Last call, concerns? Seeing none, all in favor? This is carried, thank you. That's done. Do you want a bio break? It is 8:15. Everybody ready to go? Keep going? Okay, good, ladies? Yes, all right, 8:06.
Let's get through this.
Application to amend land use bylaw 2021-06 from bylaw 2024-78, application to amend land use bylaw 2021-06. Carrie or Cindy?
Questions?
Yeah, no, let's get the quick breakdown first.
First reading, this is to present council first reading of 2024-78 with changes to the Black Diamond land use bylaw to allow a bed and breakfast to be located in an accessory suite, clarify that an accessory suite is an additional dwelling unit, allow waste carts to be stored on a driveway, remove off-street parking requirements from the central business district, add childcare services as a listed use in additional districts to where it currently is, and provide definitions to support the proposed changes. This is a bylaw for first reading.
Thank you. Cindy, go ahead.
Yeah, and so this sounds like a lot of housekeeping, but then it also sounds like there's an application, so I'm just wondering, has somebody formally put in? 'Cause normally it's like a $2,500 fee and you go through the process, so I kind of worry about having them together. If you've got an applicant that's paid to have land use bylaw and not being done separately. I think it's fine, but I just want to make sure that we're doing somebody the justice if they've paid the substantial fee to have this done for their file.
Yeah, through the chair, there were a lot of knock-on effects between the bed and breakfast, the accessory suite, and that kind of stuff. The removing this off-street parking requirements from the central business district was seen to be a zero risk move since it was directed by council to bring that forward.
Okay. Yeah. Just follow up.
Yeah, please.
Because when we approve it, all of the things at once, or I guess we can make amendments if by chance anyone changes their mind. I just don't want somebody with their application getting held up because we get caught up in our own personal changes. So I'm good with it. I'm happy to give first reading and go to public hearing.
Thank you. Motion on the floor. Questions, concerns? Heather, you're up first.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone's noticed, since we have two major restaurants on Main Street in Black Diamond now, how bad the parking is, including the walking parking lot just full. So I don't know if we're making a mistake. I mean, we need to be maybe looking forward to building more parking lots. Just a comment.
Councillor.
Yeah, I think you're right on, Heather. We should discuss that parking lot that's sitting just to the east of the Esso, right? Like there's one that's sitting right there so maybe that's for future discussion, but you're bang on.
My comment, bed and breakfast, and accessory suites. So is the intent here to say, if I wanted to have a bed and breakfast, that I don't require to have a parking stall on the property to accommodate, and that they could just park on the road, or is it the reverse?
Thank you. Great question. So that is actually the application in front of us, is that there is a landowner that has a property with a legal accessory suite, and they would like to have a bed and breakfast out of that accessory suite, which currently is not allowed.
Where would parking be for?
An approved accessory suite requires additional parking, so.
That's what I want to hear. Excellent, okay. Okay. That's,
Parking is a different issue.
yeah, okay. I want to make sure.
Real business.
Yeah. I agree with both Heather and Brendan on the, we're gonna need to accommodate as we move forward. As best we can. Brendan, final, and then we'll.
Yeah, just a quick one. Waste carts, those garbage bins?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, I wanted to clarify and make sure it wasn't like a big bin that someone was allowed to drop on their driveway because they were doing something. Okay, perfect. Thanks, Gary.
Okay.
That's it.
Any further questions, Commissioner Hazel?
Typically, how long can somebody stay in a bed and breakfast? If they stay like 3 weeks? Is there a certain period of time?
Give me just a moment.
Got deep pockets.
There's a whole section in our land use bylaw, so bed and breakfast accommodation means a principal dwelling or proposed definition review, or detached accessory suite where sleeping accommodation with or without light meals is provided to the traveling public for remuneration. The section in our bylaw that deals with bed and breakfast is a whole subsection. And I don't know off the top of my head.
These discussions will go.
We could provide that information
Yeah.
during the public hearing report.
Yeah, that's the first reading, so. Totally right. All right, all in favor? Here you go. Let's move down forward. Alrighty, thank you for answering those questions. But you're right. Those will all be good questions for at the public hearing. Okay, 8.7 bylaw 2024-88 to redesignate 514 Windsor Ave, which is where we presently sit. Right. Okay, looking for a first reading here.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Councilor.
All right, yeah, I'd love to give the first motion here, or the first reading, but I do want to, again, put this out in the public forum. Want to sell this land. We currently have 2 town offices. We're currently sitting in one. This is the chambers. There's a building right to our left that doesn't see a lot of use. We've got a great opportunity here as a community to bolster some funding for revamping the town office that we're currently using on the former Black Diamond side. So yeah, we're gonna move ahead with that. So this is why this sits in front of us tonight. So it's a little bit more complicated in terms of the building, and this chamber's right here, but we'll work out those details, and CAO Davey and everybody else has been working diligently to work through that. For those of you that have sat through council meetings here in the winter time, it's not always great. It can get cold, it can get too hot. So we'd like to see some changes at our town office, and we'd like to support our staff and our growing team with proper accommodations.
Excellent. First reading is on the table. Any further comments? All in favor? Thank you. That is carried. 8.8 bylaw 2024-91 MDP amendments to require ASPs.
I would love to make.
So
Okay, we're gonna go Carrie first, and then that's definitely yours.
bylaw 2024-91 proposes to amend the former town of Black Diamond municipal development plan by adding a requirement for an area structure plan to be approved before further subdivision, servicing, or discretionary development of the denoted areas that are the schedule. Council provided direction for administration to prepare this amending bylaw to provide clarity to developers on the expectations of the town for future development of large areas of land. The amendment to the municipal development plan would still allow a property owner to develop their property as a listed use in the current district, which is a requirement by law under the MGA. And the amendment omits the condition of pre-designations, since the land subject to the ASP requirement are all large areas, and the most significant part of future development is subdivision and surfacing. And with that, the map, Berna, if you could. And these were just the large tracts of land on the Black Diamond side that we identified as candidates for significant future development.
Go ahead, Councilor Haldy.
Yeah, I'll give you the motion and then I'll speak to it. The council give first reading to bylaw 2024-91 and direct administration to set a public hearing for a later date. This is something that I'm passionate about because I really want to make sure that developments are done right, and having this required upfront when large pieces of land are being developed. An ASP is a very complex engineering document that council will get the approval on to make sure that we're happy with the reserve land that's being given, how the parks and the walking trails integrate with the other town infrastructure to make sure that we like the widths of the streets and the density of the housing. And so that when it's all done, they can just come in easily now to the planning department for the subdivision. But that we know it's all going to be done according to a master plan. So that we aren't left, having to pay, as we've had in other developments, to fix developers' mistakes as a town and putting that burden on our taxpayers. By requiring this, a proper engineered ASP, detailing where all the servicing is gonna go and how it's going to work. I think, that protects the town, many years into the future. And, if you're gonna be developing these larger sections, then you can work that into your budget, so.
Yeah, definitely, well said. As I like to say, this is one of those key pins for amalgamation, is to create that usability and that clean infrastructure component that sees those pathways and road widths and so on all connect properties so that we're growing together seamlessly and in a proper manner. So Cindy said it best. Yeah, absolutely.
And just for the residents, this isn't gonna happen tomorrow.
No.
So this is like long-term planning here. This is like the big picture planning. We currently, there's multiple areas on the map there that there's been absolutely no consideration for, from a council perspective. So just don't want people to look at that map and be like, oh my God, it's growing so fast. I need to get out of here. Yeah, none of that's taking place. Carrie's gonna tell me otherwise. I said not all of them are being spoken for. But even still, we do have some things in motion, but it's still long-term planning. So I just wanted to let the public know that this isn't something that's gonna happen overnight.
Carrie, I will go to you though.
And never want to turn down an opportunity for education, seeing that we have a very large gallery, if you may indulge me for 3 minutes of.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure.
So an area structure plan is a statutory plan that the Municipal Government Act contemplates. The purpose is to provide a framework for subsequent subdivision and development of an area of land. And a council may therefore adopt an area structure plan. An area structure plan must describe the sequence of development for the proposed area, the land proposed for the area, the density of the population proposed for the area, the general location of major transportation routes and public utilities, and may contain any other matters, including matters related to reserves, as council considers necessary. So it's a safeguarding document, again, in the conversations that we've been having all night, setting the framework so that we can make good decisions and good thoughts.
Heather.
In that,
Then we'll get to vote.
what it sets out. And this is just a question, Carrie. I don't know where it fits in. Where would the architectural design plans fall? Would that be under an area structure plan? So, we've kind of gone towards on our main street, full of Main Street, kind of a western or country themes. Some of the buildings that are going up now kind of are going that way. Where would the architectural design plan fall?
Great question. So through the mayor, it can be handled in a few different ways. If a municipality is looking to preserve certain characteristics of the municipality, they can do so through policy. So you can have an architectural guideline as a policy. You can incorporate those policies into an area structure or area redevelopment plan. You can assign certain elements at the municipal development plan stage. In most residential neighborhoods, we shy away from including those in statutory plans. Those are restrictive covenants that are put on title and enforced by the developer or the home builder. And a town has nothing to do with them at that point.
Okay, yeah, I was thinking more about business areas. Thank you.
For
Keep that in mind though, because I'll be looking for that.
first reading, motion is made. Any further comments? straightforward. All in favor? Thank you. That one on the books. 8.9 bylaw 2024-92 MDP amendment to require ASPs. Jonathan?
It's the ditto to what we just talked about, so that council give first reading of bylaw 2024-92 and direct administration to set a public hearing for a later date.
Thank you, sir. Just making sure I'm off the page here. Okay, good. Carrie, go ahead.
If I may?
Thank you.
If there are any amendments to the proposed areas at this time, it would be great to know about them so that we can circulate the appropriate map for public hearing. But if you're happy, then we'll just keep marching forward.
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, really, there's area redevelopment plans for the southwest corner, and there's already an ASP for the southwest or the southeast corner. So that's why, just for anybody in the gallery looking at these maps, that those are large pieces of lands, but they already have what were required. So just wanted to state that. But yeah, totally in favor. It protects us from piecemeal development.
Open on the floor. Any further comments, concerns? Yeah, a lot of it is chemical land, which you'll never see. You might see a solar panel. So. All right, all in favor? Parking lot would be great.
I'll stop.
Okay.
A little far from the restaurants.
All right, we're gonna move on to 8.10 bylaw 2024-90 taxation of exempt properties. Yeah, this is an interesting one.
Yeah, thank you, worship. I'll take this one.
All
So,
right, we're gonna go to Mr. Davey.
yeah, just the purpose here, is for council to consider taxing properties that have recently been made exempt under, Bill 20. So this came out about a month ago, that are now designated as affordable housing. So the last meeting, council directed administration to draft a bylaw to make these properties now defined as affordable housing, taxable, just like everyone else. So, with this bylaw, you are preventing passing on approximately $60,000 of additional taxes onto the rest of the tax base. So with this passing, that will not be added on to the upcoming budget. These affordable units will just continue to pay the same rate they paid last year. And we're available for any questions.
Yes, Mr. Cunliffe, please.
Again, just for our residents, Bill 20 passed by the provincial government, downloading some more services and some more dollars onto our residents. So we're trying to be proactive in keeping some money in our pockets for planning or anything else. So we've asked administration to look at some suitable means to make sure that this burden doesn't get passed on to you guys. So that's what this is all about. We've been talking about this for a little while. So. Heather?
Just for further clarity, this doesn't allow us, however, to, it's only the municipal tax. We're still going to have to pay for the school tax. So
The properties,
the properties, we still have to pay the municipal, they are still making us pay the school tax. So we can't exempt them from.
So it's like 50% land. Win or win. So, well, they. That's good. Hazel, go ahead.
I know there isn't still a lot of clarification from the province, Adam. So could the new council repeal this bylaw and resume tax collection from the exempted properties in 2026 and forward?
So everybody,
Anything.
everybody's up for debate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't confirm 100%, your worship, but yeah, it's a 90% probability, absolutely. So there's no such thing as a fixed policy.
No.
You can change anything you want.
Unless the province tells us otherwise.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And so I should just add, your worship, too, for this to come into effect for budget year 25, this has to be passed before the end of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll start us off here. The council give bylaw 2024-90 taxation of exempt properties first reading. And I would just note that Westwinds handles our affordable housing and seniors housing. They have a very professional organization, and they take great care of us. So they would follow up and business as usual for them. So it's all good.
In the village.
Yep, absolutely. So, any further comments or shall we vote? All in favor?
Yeah.
There you go. Can I get a second?
I'll give you the second, and I just wanted to ask a question to CAO Davies. Have in your conversations with other CAOs are other municipalities taking the same approach?
Great question, your worship. I have no idea. This is
I know it's happened fast, so.
brilliant tactic by the province to push it quickly on local government. So everyone's kind of in the same boat, probably assessing. One of the larger cities would probably see this as a positive, but they'll again pass that tax burden on. So.
Yeah, and thanks, CAO Davies. I bring that up because I am the sitting member on Westwinds, and I know that obviously this would have put some money in the pockets of the Westwinds Foundation or the Westwinds business case in terms of capital and investments and stuff, but there's a pretty stark line here when it comes to a counselor looking after the community versus a counselor sitting on a committee board. And my first, the right thing to do in my mind is to look after the residents here and not support, unfortunately, the committee. So.
Jonathan?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of fairness. And if you recall, on 2 different occasions in the last 18 months, residents of our Bearland strata in the community were hoping to get a bit of a tax break because they have different services that they provide within that strata. And if you recall, we said no, to be equitable, they're going to pay the rate. And I feel this is the same philosophy, the same reason why I support this motion.
All right. Second reading is up. All in favor? Thank you. And remember, we would have to
The next one, the council agrees to present bylaw 2024-90 for the 3rd reading at this meeting.
I give second, Heather.
to hear. This is to
It's
hear.
just a year.
All in favor? And that has to be unanimous, and it is. Thank you very much. And Hazel.
Council give bylaw 2024-90 taxation of exempt properties 3rd and final reading.
Thank you. Any further debate, comments, concerns? Raymond.
What happened if we said no?
If you said no, it'd be $60,000 added to the next budget, and every $75,000 represents 1% to the average tax levy.
Thank you. So all in favor?
Planning on running.
Jeez. All right, thank you for that. Good debate there. 811 bylaw 2024-89 to amend property responsibility bylaw 2023-23.
Thanks, your worship. So this one is coming back for review by council, and Sergeant Hogan is here if there are any questions.
Excellent, Matt, if you would be so kind as to take a seat here. Thank you, sir. And we'll give you the floor. Brief overview as we've read it, and we've got some motions here.
Well, good evening once again. In front of you, you see bylaw 2024-89. It's an amendment to the property responsibility bylaw. Back in August, we appeared in front of council. There were some requests to look at the definition of unsightly when it came to garage sales. So we've made some tweaks to the bylaw. It is now covering, cleaned up the definition, talks about permittable times, limit in sales to a maximum 14 days per calendar year, and requires that items from a garage sale be removed overnight. So there were some concerns of the definition of unsightly and how it worked in the bylaw and how the tools my team had to be able to deal with that. And the extended process of enforcing an unsightly order, which can be starting at 2 weeks and can go much longer. So in front of you right now, you have some just brief changes that give us the tools that we need to do our job to address these concerns. And I'll be open to any questions.
Excellent, thank you. Any concerns? This one, we've all debated this, we've talked about this, this is straight up exactly what we want. Gives teeth to our municipal enforcement to actually clean up some of these unsightlies. Now, I'm a garage sale junkie. And I like to leave my stuff in the garage on the driveway and cover it. Is that still gonna be available? Or I gotta put it in the garage?
EVB.
Hey, one day, I only want one day. Not working.
As written in the bylaw, Mayor Crane, you're removing it every night.
All right, just wanted to know. Just so I gotta be sneaky. I gotta be sneaky, you know. All right, thank you. Other than that, guys, this is straightforward to me. I will give the motion to amend property responsibility bylaw. Sorry, the council give bylaw 2024-89 to amend the property responsibility bylaw 2023 first reading. All in favor? Yep. Cindy?
The council give bylaw 2024-89 second reading.
Seeing none? All in favor? Yes, please.
The council agree to present bylaw 2024-90 for third reading at this.
That's 89.
Oh, sorry. Okay, 89, excuse me, for third reading at this meeting.
Thank you. All in favor? And that is unanimous. Thank you. Good.
Don't get number four there now.
That was just a stutter reaction. Heather, give us the last.
We don't need one. We
Yeah,
we gave it third reading.
No,
No,
it was to hear.
that was to hear.
Pardon me?
That was to hear. That was to hear third.
Page 175.
You don't need to have that on property responsibility. I thought that was only land use.
1, 2, and 3.
It's written, let's get it.
I can give it to you.
Yeah, please.
The council give bylaw 2024-89 to amend the property responsibility bylaw 2023-23, third and final reading. It is a property responsibility bylaw, therefore it's not land use, so we don't have to do a public hearing.
Yeah.
But in order to
sorry.
do 3
I-
readings in
I
one
know.
night, we need a unanimous. So
I'm just. Happy
to have it.
Former Councillor Rabbit be rolling in his grave right now. Huh?
Never 3 readings.
He's not dead though. He's not dead.
I was gonna say, always no.
Well, I figured if we're gonna quote him on the horse, you know, we gotta throw in there. No, he's a great guy. No, he's not a great guy. All in favor? He'd be rolling at the table.
Okay, we need to take a break on that. Let's just get through this.
All right, what do we got? We got 812 here. Plan Development Subdivision 022.
Thank you, Councilor Hogan.
Thank you, guys.
Subdivision and Development Securities Policy.
Thank you, worship. So this one should be timely, given a topic earlier today. So I'll call on Ms. Florzone again to talk on securities policy.
That's gonna be a big one.
Forgot who I am.
All right, all yours.
Again, major part of our work since the amalgamation is trying to, align, put better process frameworks in place. Part of that is policy work. Subdivision and development securities policy in front of you. The purpose is twofold: to require a sum of money from a developer to ensure that financial security is available if developers cannot meet their obligations under development permit or development agreement, and to assist developers, administration, consulting engineers, and other affected parties in understanding when a security will be required, when the security must be provided, when it will be returned, and when it may be drawn upon. As the town is currently experiencing heightened interest from developers, it's prudent to be fair and consistent in managing the town's risk. A portion of managing that risk is taking security for subdivision and development projects that impact the town's infrastructure. The policy and procedure prepared to follow accepted practice and should enhance the subdivision and development approval process. But note, when you see the revised fees coming forward for 2025 from planning, the little $3,000 and $1,000 here and there are being removed. In conjunction, hopefully, with the policy that you pass. Because again, the intention is the protection of the town's infrastructure.
Cindy.
So if you're building a house, you would be connecting security more to the developer and the subdivision development, not the house builder who's
That's the intent of
putting a
the
house. Okay, because really the only risk would be sidewalks and then that just gets dealt with, like, after, like, if they damage something, you require them to, okay. There's other tools, you don't have to worry about $3,000. I love it.
The proposal should also reduce some administrative burden that we don't have to go chase them down, get it to Vin's team to issue to take the deposit and then to release the deposit. So minimum of 5 hours per house. But again, the intent of the policy and procedure is to be very clear on the who, what, where, when, and make it very transparent to the developers, to administration, to our consulting engineer, to council, to the other residents nearby, what the expectation is.
Council, any questions, concerns? Is that clear? Or remove it? That's off the table. The developer is responsible in the forefront of development to take care of those things like sidewalks, which really is the only thing that actually gets damaged. Drainage. I've been doing it 25 years. I've never even had one house where I've seen drainage as a problem. That's why you have drainage tile, weeping tile, storm sewer, sump pumps, like. There's so many factors that come in that, yeah. It's,
A lot of that straight on the development.
so it's like,
Developer problem.
I think Cindy mentioned it best, you know, where we have direct problems with a neighbor's property draining directly into another neighbor's property where maybe the water goes across their sidewalk in the backyard, causing ice. Okay, get some east off. You got a bylaw for that. So, if we've learned anything tonight, we have a manpower issue of we need more people. And if this here can save another 200 hours,
250 hours.
hey,
And that was on every one of those things, so I assumed it was like 1,500 hours. So it was on every single one.
so this makes sense to me. So I'll entertain a motion.
I'll give it to you.
Hazel Gibbs.
That council adopts a subdivision and development securities policy plan. Development number 022 as presented.
Okay. Any questions, concerns, any definitions anyone wants redefined? And again, we're gonna see a new fee structure. Some will be removed, some are gonna go up. So those things are all very important for this future movement that we're into. So,
Yep.
Okay, sounds good. It's 3-pager, all in favor. And that's carried. Thank you. All right, we're gonna take a bio break, 5 minutes, before we dive into capital budget. But yeah, thank you. 1, 2, 3. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. We are reconvened at 8:56. I'm just gonna close this up here. Everything will be on the big screen. We're moving on here to action item 9.1, capital budget 2025 and the 10-year capital plan. And we have Mr. Vin and Mr. Beaton right here in the center section. So who wants to go? Mr. Davey.
Thanks, your worship. I'll actually kick it off. We're just going to turn to the presentation. We're going to the strategy slide. I just sort of want to set the context so we know where we're at. So what the plan before you is, it's a very lean capital plan. As you know, we got 1.3, 1.4 million a year in grants. That's what we're expending. Anything beyond that is coming out of the reserves or the venture. So the whole intent with this year is to try to finish our must-dos and those projects that existed last year. Look for funding to conduct an infrastructure master plan, which we've talked a little about, and that would follow about 6 months behind the MVP to make sure they're aligned. And that IMP over 2025 and part of 26 would actually build the real 5 and 10-year capital plans. The IMP is a major component of asset management because it really does rationalize our short, mid, and long-term capital planning. So as we're going through this, when you see the 10-year plan, that is really a placeholder. I can confidently say that is not realistic, right? We know our funding gap is somewhere between 65 to probably $120 million, depending on what math we use. So the idea with the IMP is it would really allow us as a corporation and a community to know what our funding should be over the long term. I just want to note a couple things. The IMP we guessed would be around 350. We have had some soft quotes come back, and it's likely closer to actually $500,000. This is a lot more in-depth plan, right? If you think it's folks actually getting down and physically assessing our sewer, our water, all of that kind of stuff. So it's not just a paper plan. I think just a couple other things to note too. This plan, so we do not intend to use any reserves or debentures. If there's any money left over, suppose we do get that grant for the water crossing, that money would then go into the reserves. So if we collect $1.3 million or so every year in grants, and we know a major project is likely a couple $1 million, this allows us to accumulate so we're able to put money aside so we don't have to use those debentures. Because as we know, a debenture is a loan and you pay that loan off in your operating budget over, length of a mortgage in some cases, 25 years. The other key component too, as we know, is West End at some point in 2025 is going to come on town's books as well. But I think just setting that stage, I'll turn it over to Vin.
Good evening, Council.
You doing good?
Chair. Hi.
Good to see you. Hope you had a good trip back home.
Yeah, not bad.
Extended.
Yeah.
Flying Air Canada, were you?
Yeah.
No, the Prime Minister's here, please. So that breaks down into the
Administration presents 2025 capital budget draft 1, along with the 10-year capital plan for the council to review and approve. Next slide, please. So the key points here are the capital budget proposal, which we found, which is the 1.4 million, whatever we are receiving from the government, we want to spend basically that same amount. And the capital wish list 2025 is a big list, which is not contained in that 1.4 pot. Then the next one is 10-year capital plan summary from 2025 to 2034, like Adam told. We have the number somewhere around 63 million. However, we looks actual, probably we will be touching 100 to 125 million worth of infrastructure plan. Then the available grant details for 2025, the reserve balances, then the debenture limit, and other anticipated projects. So that's in the nutshell. We go to the capital budget. The yellow highlighted colored one is the projected capital budget for 2025. We have first two items which we are continuing with the additional project amounts. One is Sheep River Water Main Crossing, which is we are proposing for another additional 800,000 for 2025. Then the additional project again for refrigeration replacement project for 500,000. Then for the fire department, the vehicle diesel exhaust removal system for 5 vehicles times 20K, which is approximately 100K. So that is our proposed budget, capital budget for 2025, and total amount comes to 1.4 million. We go to the next slide.
Since we're still there, just a footnote.
Yeah.
You have an update on that opportunity to get that grant?
For the Sheep River?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Gordon, through the chair. So we applied for the grant sometime, it was during the summer, we applied for a grant. we failed to receive that grant. And in follow-up with the organization, we failed not because of submission errors or complications, but just to volume of demand on that grant. So it opened up again October 23rd, and we have just submitted our application again. So we hope it's like a 3-month period. So we hope to see some success in January.
That's $560,000 would be nice.
Yeah. And if we are getting that, then that will keep our grant amount back there.
Quick question for you. Vehicles, fire department, new diesel exhaust removal system. So I know TV Station 2, we did that a few years back. Is this for the Station 3 then?
No, there's only there were 2 vehicles that were done at Station 2, so there's additional vehicles to be done. So it's mainly to be catching up Black Diamond, but there's also a vehicle at Station 2 to be caught up on as well.
Hazel?
Also with this, just talking about this vehicle diesel exhaust removal. Is this something that we should be considering for the civic operations?
Through the chair, Councillor Martin, that's a good question. No. Our equipment, we do have an evacuation system on our shop. So when we are about to start our equipment for big snow removal events and whatnot, we engage the system, open the doors, and it on. So not an issue.
Is that also on the Black Diamond shop?
No.
But we don't really store a lot of vehicles over there, do
We're not paying.
Well,
we?
we do, but no, the equipment doesn't idle indoors. It gets stored, the doors roll up, the equipment starts and rolls out, and then we just, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Good. Wish list.
Yeah, going to the wish list. Here's the wish list, starting with admin building. In case if we get through the sale of asset of this building and property, then we can use that. Then there are some small amount like 12,000, then 35,000 down below, then 7,000, 7,000, 82,000. It is a replacement of LED signs. Then 211 Denham Lane sanitary work. Then there is a big one, front neck, 2.5.
Sorry, we're supposed to just jump into, right, the wish list for the admin building, Frontenac and Dunham Lane, those are not accurate numbers, right? These are just placeholders, and again, an IMP would actually flush those out in detail. So those numbers were just carryovers from previous years. Yeah, that's what you're seeing there.
211 Diamond Lanes. Oh, tennis court, okay, thank you. Cindy, did you?
Yeah, I have a question. Frontenac, if something were to go on it, what kind of price for emergency repairs are we looking at?
You're the chair. So obviously any emergency repairs unbudgeted for tend to be a little greater in cost. But if we were doing an emergency repair, it would probably be considerably less because we're not going to tear up the whole street. We would repair the damaged portion and patch it back up. So again, it would depend on the severity of the situation. You know, if we're replacing a section of pipe, you know, $20,000, 30,000, depends on the extent of it. But we could do multiple of those, given the condition of that line, as I understand it.
Right, but 5% interest on 2.5 million, you can pay for a lot of repairs, right?
I can imagine we could probably double it at this point. That's an old number,
Yeah, 2.5.
that's an old number, yeah, so it's a real.
But I'm just saying, like you guys are fine as administration holding off on Frontenac until we get the IMP done.
That's good.
Yeah, worship, if I may, like, I think the intent here is we just conduct all necessary repairs, and the IMP, if you go back to a couple meetings ago and we had those two maps from both sides of the town, they're very aged, right? So the IMP would give us that new map so we can rationalize where best to spend these monies. Because at the end of the day, we're not going to be able to fund all of this. So it's got to go down to highest and best use, or at least in administration's opinion. So I would suggest when these breaks occur, we look at the emergency cost, and each of those, if they're significant, we come back to council and say, look, here's some options to consider.
I'd like to add, if I may, through the chair, I think the inherent risk that we have with a failure, unplanned failure, of course, is the collateral damage to local resident. As some of you may know, when there's a sewer line collapse, there's also a backup, and that backup leads to the path of least resistance, which is generally people's basements.
Hazel.
No, Heather.
I know this is a wish list, but when it comes to retiling the showers at the arena, how bad are they? Like, I mean, is it becoming a health issue? And like, it's not a big amount of money. And the longer you leave it, the worse it gets, kind of, when you're talking about water and stuff like that. So I'm just wondering why that's not on a wish list and we're not dealing with it.
Yeah, through the chair. I have inspected the showers after some concerns from the staff down there, and they are pretty old and worn. They definitely need some attention. However, there's many things that need attention, and
But that's a health thing.
yeah.
You know, like, to me, that's a pretty big health thing, it can be. So I'd like to see that moved off the wish list and put onto the capital budget this year.
Before we go there, yeah, want to move it? Like, if we're gonna move, let's move it over.
Yeah, since we're talking capital, do you have a final number for the work that was just done on First Ave? We know how much that cost.
Yeah, great. That's just this one area. Yeah.
Great question through the chair, Councillor Gordon. I'm just waiting for final numbers. But it's in and around the 2.26 at the moment. It's important to note that second lift of asphalt still needs to go in.
Yeah.
So we'll do that in the end of 26, early 27. And that second lift will probably be a few $100,000. So we'll just carry. It's pretty good.
So that actually, the reason I asked that, because of Frontenac. You know,
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah, well, I think we really had a great contract in there.
It was well managed.
He did great. Hazel, you wanted to sense for who?
I just have a question on the refrigeration replacement project. Will the $500,000 be able to complete the refrigeration?
As quoted, I certainly hope so, yes. We'll be monitoring that and making sure we are ensuring proper and efficient services are being performed while they're on site.
So that will include the electrical upgrading, the
All
water.
included, yes. So
Okay.
the work that they've done this fall and the equipment that has been ordered and I'm beginning to receive at the moment will all be set and ready. So that once the ice is done at the end of March, our contractor will engage and start doing all that work for an expedient reinitiation of that ice plant for the next season.
So it's about 1.1 million total.
It's more than that.
Yeah, it was
Someone
1.6.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was almost 1.5.
Right. So you say 650 for reserves and 500. Is that it?
So the total budgeted number from 2023 was 250,000. Then 2024 additional amount, the altogether including the 2025, that would be 1.6 million.
The
Total.
project.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, wish list?
I just, while we're talking about the rink, the ice has been great. So the boys, girls, who's ever working there, it's way better than last year. At least at the beginning of the season. I just want to give you kudos and pass that on to the team.
Excellent.
The live barn is awesome.
Awesome.
So clear. It's-
Awesome.
It's
Yeah, like
incredible.
follows the play.
The live, what?
It's really cool.
Live barn.
Oh, the whole live barn there?
I'd
I
like
sent
that.
a message to Canmore telling them they better get it installed.
Well, it doesn't cost you anything.
Yeah,
Yes, that's good.
And I'd like to add, we're short 3 staff over there, so we're
Yeah.
doing
Yeah,
our
we
best
saw that.
to keep things rolling. So the
You
guys
wouldn't
are
know it.
working extra hard to keep that thing going.
Who do we have left there?
We're
Brady.
Oh, sorry, yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
never mind. It's just like Brendan said, doing great work and we're short 3 people, so
Yeah.
kudos to them. Cindy, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about that 211 Dunham Lane sanitary work, because it sounds like we're having somebody else do it. This is our window of opportunity on it. But then I'm somewhat disappointed if this is related to growth, that our offsite levies are not adequate to be covering this whole thing.
Correct, your worship, and our offsite levies are probably unlikely to ever offset that. Our initial look for all things that would be. The reality is, when you look at all the plans that are carrying on, at the time that is really added, you're probably 2027. So that's the downside to development. It doesn't pay for itself.
If I can, on that one, just because, we extended that development agreement 4 times,
and gave back the off-site levies.
right?
Yeah.
So that's it, no more. They don't do something.
But it's not just that property though, it's 4 properties. It all includes the Lions Club, the property south, and then Royal Oaks.
Do you want to discuss it a little bit more? Because I think there's what it is.
So
It's in the offsite levy.
It's in the package.
Yeah, your worship, maybe I'll turn it to Craig if you know, so like bluntly from my perspective, this is just being a carry forward every year, so I actually don't know what it is.
Yeah, stick through the chair. There's an upgrade requirement on that portion of the line. The capacity for the flow rates are needed to be increased. And they're currently sufficient, but as we develop that end of town, we're quickly coming to the current pipes capacity. So it's in the town's best interest to repair or replace that portion of the line sooner rather than later if we can.
Extending where to where? Question.
Would be from the end of Anderson Crescent, straight through the old tennis court lands to Dunham Lane. So from a manhole here across.
Oh, straight back.
Yeah.
Oh,
And it's even a laneway?
I don't think it's a designated laneway. I think it's just an open lot, but we have an easement with a current sewer sanitary line in there now.
Yeah.
Pathway. But yeah, it's through a private lot.
If council wishes, your worship, we could bring more detail into this to the final on December 4th. Should you wish.
I just. That one is something that, you know, it's not a huge hit, and if they. If there is quite a bit of development going there, I don't know if we should hit that this year when we can. So, and then retiling the showers, I think that's, we gotta do that. It's not a big expense, and it to me, it's a health and safety issues not to do it. Oh, yeah, more information might be really great, but I think you get where we're going.
Okay.
I just in the trees though.
10-year capital?
That's fine. Well, yeah, that's questioning. So if we have the, like, what's the cost savings using the developer versus having to mobilize and like what's the difference between doing it now? This is done in lane one.
I think the rationale is once development starts, we're impeding on their development. So we're doubling up construction in the same zone, and or we try to do it afterwards, we're going through now developed lots. Versus doing it now, it's in the ground, it's upgraded, and then the easement will still be there. But we're not having to physically go through subdivided lots.
So I'm just saying, so 305 Dunham Lane, which one is it? Like, that's Lions Land, and then 211 is the tennis courts, which we have an application. Do we have an application for the tennis courts? And we do for Lions Land. So it's really a no-brainer that it has to be done.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time that
So this isn't a wish list, this is a, you gotta do it.
sooner or later it's gotta be done. Move that one over.
Okay, maybe, if your worship, we can just have Vin explain, so if there's, so once the grants are exceeded, can you just walk us through how that looks for debenture reserve?
Yeah. So I go to the next one, the 10-year capital plan, which is coming from over the years and the plan is now from 2025 to 2034, which is with different categories. The total amount here comes to 63 million and undetermined amount comes to 12 million, but this is coming from an old data. Next please. So available grants for the capital funding, we get the second last column, which is 2025 expected funds are 1.4 million. And we already have, and from accumulating and the balance all together, we will be having around 2.59 balance in the grant account. Then we have all these projects listed down, which is 500,000, then 800,000, 100,000 from for the fire vehicle. Then the infrastructure development plan, we called it 350,000, but we come to know now that is 500,000. So the balance of 309, 123, that will be completely wiped out. There will not be. Yeah. So personally, I would like to keep some funds for emergency purpose because in a calendar year, there will be some small repairs or capital related expenses. When it comes, then 30,000, 20,000 or whatever. So that I thought that's the purpose, and I kept it for that 309,000. But then we come to know that the infrastructure project is altogether 500,000. So. So going back to that 177,000 for 211 Denhams Street, we will not be having that much money. So we'll take it and build unless we are taking them out from the service.
We can talk.
Do we don't normally use grants for emergency use?
Which one is the emergency?
Yeah, like the expected balance for any emergency use, that would be 309.23 and.
No, on purpose, we would like, I would like to find side, I would like to keep that one is. In a calendar year, when I looked back last 1 year, in between, there are some requests, RFPs coming up with 2025 capital requirements and all that things together will touch around 250 to 300,000, could be. I'm just putting some number there. So this 309,123 could be utilized for that. However, we can't use now because the IMP is almost will take up all that amount. That's it.
So I haven't got it to the right page, but we set a capital budget like, cause I thought we put way more aside for first. If it's only, under 3, I thought we'd put like 4 or something million and like, we haven't seen, like our actuals. We've only ever saw our budgets for the previous one, so is that coming at a meeting? Like, is there gonna be that we thought that we were spending more, putting more into venture? For these other projects?
Thanks, Your Worship. Yeah, so you'll have that for the final, but keep in mind that actual, like the project's not done. So like to Craig's point, we still gotta leave a 6-figure sum there for 2 years from now to finish the project out.
Right.
Right, so you may have some funding there, but I guess what Vin's trying to get at here is you spend every penny, we're going to be dipping into the reserves mid-year.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is next year's, so we don't have anything new on this plan.
Yeah.
We start building this out and you have an IMP and say, you gotta spend $10 million for the next 10 years. We've only got 1.4 million in grant that comes down to then how much debenture do you want to take out? Because every $250,000 of debenture is gonna start cranking up your long-term tax hike, right? That West End project debenture, we're paying for until 2049.
Yeah.
Right, so that's the kind of thinking that I'm trying to encourage here respectfully.
We need to have a bit of financial plan here because otherwise we will land up paying out all our grants and whatever balances we have. And just to answer the other question, the project which is going First Avenue, that is, we budgeted 3.2 million. From MSI, SGFF, we are taking 1.25. And then from CCBF, 575, from reserve, 1.375, just as breakouts.
So just to go back to that, so already committed part of the reserve for that. So if anything comes back, essentially replenish it. But again, just keep in the back of the mind that phase 2, 26 or 27.
Okay, so Adam, just in respects to this, and I really appreciate the cautious approach here, like, and what you're bringing to us. I'm completely on board. This is how I manage my house in some respects in terms of my own mortgage and how I look at money. My wife doesn't look at the same as me, but with that being said, that's why I'm sitting here. What I really just want to hone in on here, just because I'd like an honest answer, that 177 is from what I'm hearing is going to be more expensive later. So while I understand the cautious approach, is that money not better well spent this year than what we're looking at in future years? Because I have a hard time. I know we're trying to save, and I know we're trying to, and I won't highlight anything else. I can even do without the tiling in the bathrooms. Okay, even though I shower in those. But I just need that honest approach.
Yeah, it's a great point, Your Worship. I think we kind of went back and forth. Maybe just over to Craig. Can we just talk about the accuracy of that number, or perhaps that number's got to come back with a greater degree of realism?
Sentence there, because the grant amount we have, the balance right now is 309,000. Then the another 250 or whatever, then it will take out most of the amount. So we don't have that much balance of 177,000 there. We have to take it out from the reserve. So
yeah, but I'd just rather take out the 177 now than 350 in 3 years. That's my problem.
And then new development.
Has to be done.
So with respect to 211 Dunham. So what was?
So I guess, Craig, can you just tell us the accuracy of it? Because I understand that this number's been sitting in previous plans. So I guess question is it $177,000 in 2025?
Yeah, and I can't confidently answer that question because like Vin indicated earlier, the reports that I have from MPE from the Turner Valley side were done in 2015. So,
that's it, scary.
So
yeah,
those numbers could easily be double that.
And we have the history of 2 ongoing projects. What is going around with the refrigeration, which is continuing from 2022 or 23. Then the other project is same thing. If we are continuing from again 23 or 22. So after the year, so when we start, we can't stop it in between too, because we already started that project, so we need to stop, finish it.
And if I may, your worship, maybe if I'm kind of hearing council here, perhaps for final budget on December 4th, we could bring back maybe a better estimate for that for decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm torn, cause I'd rather spend the money, I was just saying to Barry, is like, I'd rather spend the money on the plans. Like, I'd rather get those plans in place, and if that means kind of putting a pin in maybe doing that 177 or $250,000 or whatever it is, I'd rather get the plans going. I'd rather take the ventures out to get the plans done, cause that's what's killing us right now, is the lack of plans that we have.
Totally, yeah, your worship, maybe just cause I'm sure Gary could talk about that more for operating next week. But keep in mind, not all the plans can occur
At the same time,
simultaneously.
yeah, we need the MDP first and that.
Yeah, I think, you might be able to, again, I think with the IMP, I think we can have it tracked maybe 6 months behind. But then after the MDP, now we're talking, okay, land use, offsite levies, but again, you can't really do the offsite levies until we've done the rec master plan. You can't do the rec master plan until the MDP has identified what land and what you want to use it for. So this is sort of the circular challenge we have, and I don't know if Carrie's been following any of that, if you want to add anything, but
We're looking at like 4 plus years of plans.
yeah,
That's how I see this in my head. Like, this isn't even next election's issue. This is like the election after that.
if I may, your worship, a future committee of the whole, it would be, I know we've seen the chart before with how it's mapped out with all of these plans, but it wouldn't be a bad idea for us to review these again, because it's not so simple, and I completely understand, because I've been schooled in this now too, and why can't we do these concurrently? We've got to get money here, but one leads after the other. And it's bottom line, you can't build offsite levies for a rec center without clearly identifying what precisely you want.
Yeah.
If I may, I actually do have one input to that. So in addition to having a plan at all, the understanding from council and commitments, preferably through policy so that we can roll it into budget in future years, would be that these are all living documents. So even the ones that we have, if we don't touch them every 5 years to do a check-in, like, does this still make sense? Are these still our policy objectives? Do these policies still support those objectives? Then we end up back in this vicious cycle of, oh, well, that's 30 years outdated. We're gonna basically have to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I may, your worship, like the reality is with these plans, is you basically need a standing line item every year, because every 5+ years you need these renewed. And like I mentioned earlier, there's no such thing as a fixed policy. There's no indication that a future council may shift some of these plans, right? So that's the reality. And I can just say, coming from BC, where a lot of these plans are fixed, you basically have a line item in the budget, and it's just nonstop consultants. And truth be told, I don't know if the juice is worth the squeeze. I'm not saying there's a solution here, but that's what I can see, is you just keep shoveling out money. And, obviously the MDP is a 50-year document that sets the vision. The IMP, we can't even really rationalize a good capital plan without that. But a lot of these plans, as you'll see the fire master plan shortly, is these reach out far, and they still leave a lot of questions that require further plans, unfortunately. Yeah.
Okay, in the essence of time,
Yes,
and gentlemen, we have made it to the wish list. So we really need to
Finish the plans.
let roll through and
Reserve balances, estimated reserve, operating reserve balance could be 2.640497. And the capital reserve could be 5.488145. We have offsite levies, which is sitting there, 2.4 million. And next, please. This is the debenture list. Balance with the auditors, the total debt limit as of December 2023 is 22 million. And we have a remaining debenture balance, which is 1.224 million. Then once we amalgamate Mercedes Western, we will be taking over their debenture, which is 5 million. That will bring down our debt balance to 15,835,000. So Adam touched base with the infrastructure project, so two more into our wish list, if we could. One is, of course, the finance from the finance side, EFP, which again could be estimated around 300 million, which we would like to propose for 2026. Then another one is the information record management system, which Verna is looking into. That will be again another 300,000 for 2026. Adam did try to get some funding through the ministry level, but we got the letter finally saying that we can't accommodate any further amount. Diverted back to our grant list, which is, we have only that 1.4 million, which is already here overdrawn. Well,
Cindy, go ahead.
Really, like every town is in this exact same boat, and all these record systems are probably in shambles. Like every government level, I'm assuming. So which ones can we absolutely not live without?
The financial ARP is, in my view, Verna would disagree, but I would accept a higher level of risk and slaps on the wrist from the province over records management.
Yeah.
The next report with REC, that's a failure of records management, which could cost the town 300 grand. With financial systems though, I mean, bluntly, I don't mean to step on Vince toes, but yes, is my 10th municipal budget, and yeah, we're using Excel spreadsheets, which is just something I've never seen before. So that is definitely what we want to cover.
you and I haven't done that.
Very familiar.
You and I both.
From council members come over there, they can see that the long, big Excel sheets, and we are working on
So-
that.
Yeah, so to sort of answer that, like, we can't afford both in 26. So again, like, we've prioritized IMP because that's flushing the toilet and turning on the taps. That's the whole reason local government exists. And then the financial system would be number 2, which we propose for 26. And then 27 would be info management.
Oh, it says 2026.
Yeah, well, because we thought maybe we'd get the grant, but realistically, we'll have to look at the budget next year, and I can already tell you, we'd probably have to push that out over a year. We can't afford them all.
Yeah, we don't have personnel to do it.
We gotta keep after, we gotta keep after it.
Yeah.
Like, we can't, I'm not letting that go after one and we gotta keep going.
But we would have, even if we hadn't amalgamated, both towns really needed these better systems, right? And they would have been doing it separately.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, if you want my frank assessment, it's, without industry, the tax base for towns under 5,000 is not sustainable long term anywhere.
Yeah.
That's the reality.
We can amalgamate with Douglas County. We're used to amalgamating. We know.
Make a who?
Foothills County, they can approve a 5,500 person town in like one development proposal. We are totally have to.
I can't wait until the newspaper gets
Sorry.
their comment.
Yeah, I know, I should. Can you,
This
like,
was last, I know.
We're only kidding,
But
we're
I'm
only kidding.
serious. Like,
Now we have the experience.
That's true.
yeah, this is crazy.
Let's see if Robert or Amir pick up on that.
So your worship, I know we're kind of asking if you want to approve it, but if we're hearing there, council may consider asking for the tiles and or a better estimate for another project to come back as part of the whole final package on the 4th.
And I have a suggestion from the finance side. So in case if we are getting through the other grant Craig was talking about, then we can come back in January or February. Then we will get a little bit more funding and we can use the other grant, because that will give that vacuum of once the other grant gets sanctioned, then we can look into the 177,000 as well as some small amounts probably, if that work is workable and approvable.
Right. Jonathan.
Can of worms I'm gonna open up, I'll go that way. You know, we gotta start looking at how we can get some revenue. And we have discussed either our, somehow getting our campground developed more, so we increase the revenue there, because we've been in full services, or even something Barry has talked about on multiple occasions, is, getting that dump station and getting revenue, so what does that
Selling
look
our
like? How do we get that?
Yeah, great question, worship. So we did go to the Lions for campground for a year. We were not interested, so I'd like to bring that back for more substantive conversation with council, maybe committee of the whole, to see where you want to go. For the dump station, I think that'd be first through West End, but maybe probably the appropriate conversation to start that would be at the board.
Yes, then.
And the bulk water station.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
through Shrub.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, like-
we talked about that forever, but it's never come to fruition. So anybody that wants to buy bulk water is buying it from Longview.
Yeah, that's good. So as a town, if we on this board want to invest into a business case for a dump station, which I can assure you, being the closest dumping stations is Cochrane and Calgary, at give or take 270 and 250 a piece per dump. The Lions Club spent approximately $16,000 trucking to Cochrane, when we could have been coming right up here, put that money right back into our pockets. So you're talking a lot of money for a very small infrastructure component. West End is West End. It's gonna be dead in a year. If the town wants to get a business case, we make a motion to get a business case. We have land that will be transferred back to the town, so the whole debate of a commission can do this and can't do that until this happens and that gets, the town can do what it wants. If I was a business owner, and I am, I could actually go buy a piece of land, start the paperwork, talk to Alberta Environment, build a dump station myself and cash in. We're a town, we're a corporation. We can ask for that. And we should, because it is a guarantee that we can create a revenue, offset the costs that are gonna be coming. Point blank, it's a no-brainer. Every vehicle that has used the dumping station previously, in the area where we know, was dropping $100 a shot, 10 trucks a day, that's 1,000 a day. And we handled the sewage. We just upgraded to a capacity of 10,000 people. We don't have 10,000 people, which means we have more capacity to actually filter and process high-strength sewage through our system when it's upgraded. So to me, I've been saying it for 2 years, it's an absolute no-brainer. We should ask for a business case.
That's like motion.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got an example, because, you know, you keep highlighting it. I was speaking out of turn, but without industry, our hands are tied.
Yeah.
So if this is a revenue stream, let's see the business case and let's go from there.
So your worship, this would be something we'd outsource to, so we want a bit of funding, that business case.
For sure. And I imagine MPE, Urban Systems, any of these engineering firms obviously would have their in the know, so. Yeah, motion, I'm gonna make a motion.
Come back with the number for us for.
I'll make a motion that direct administration to begin the process of investigating the financial implication of a business case and to bring back a quote or a dumping station for high strength sewage and or if you want to call it sucker trucks. Y'all know what I'm saying. Vacuum trucks, back trucks, yes. Okay? Septic back trucks. It's, like I say, it's Calgary or Cochrane, all of southern Alberta. Comes here. To me.
Would bulk water be in the same area or a totally different area?
You want that
Like,
too.
It'll be through Shrub.
Yep, that could be included in the same site.
Through the chair, with respect to bulk water, actually, it doesn't have to necessarily go through truck. We just need to identify a location. I've been in many conversations with a company that's eager to, supply us the right, technology so we can supply water. So that's actually pretty quick and easy. Yeah, but when you're talking the sanitary, commercial sanitary dumping station. Just for clarity, it would not be vac trucks, it would be septic trucks.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of monitoring and regulated requirements, which would also require additional staff and reporting structures. So just so you're aware, that's not a short or easy process. It's going to be a very expensive one, and then Alberta Environment needs to give us those approvals.
The business case would show that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and knowing that we are gonna get dinged with a level 3 potentially, operator for West End anyway, this would be part of that duty. So it all falls in, but we're not gonna know until we see a business case, so let's get the paperwork moving. All in favor?
I was looking to amend it to include
Oh,
information on water as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Friendly amendment to include bulk water,
Not a business
station.
case, but just in-house knowledge is probably fine on that.
Yeah, especially since if you're going to the one spot, you gotta fill up with water too, right? Okay, all in favor?
Yeah.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, all right. My pulpit is now. Yeah, I can stop now. Okay, Vin, where are we at? Have we made it past wish list yet?
I'd like to get past this one, in case, like, that 177, we can come back in January or February.
Yeah.
And that will, in case, again, that funding is getting through, then we can utilize that amount from here. Vice versa.
Well, we wouldn't start the work until next summer anyways, right? Because it's in winter, so we've got the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at least we can pass this one.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions, guys?
No, again, like, I'd like to thank you guys for keeping it lean. I mean, Adam, you've been preaching it since you got here. I mean, you put it right to us. This is what we can do. I mean, unless the government steps up with funding, there's nothing else we can do. And we've been asking
Yeah,
beyond.
we tried.
You applied for a grant, we
Yeah.
went and sat down with RJ.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, like, that's all we're hearing.
That's what every community is doing.
I know.
So bad.
But it's not that we're not trying though, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But Adam stuck to his word, Vin's done a great job on the budget.
That's realistic. Jonathan, rough.
So one last thing, so with the utility rate increase that we're looking at, over 500 grand in reserves will be collected by the end of next year, so 2025. So where in the plan forward will those reserves be indicated? Do we hope to, are they operating reserves or are they capital?
Great question, yeah, so.
So, yeah, I can answer that. So far, we hadn't identified, so one of the proposal we would like to put forward to the council is 75% could go to the capital reserve. 25% of that could go to the operating reserve, which is reasonable, unless otherwise you guys.
So quick follow-up, once we have that management plan in place, we can then start identifying exactly how that's gonna be used, right?
Yeah, so big picture, you have these reserves, you get the 10-year plan, and then we come back and say, okay, year one, you got 8 items on the wish list. Maybe you look over the entire council term and we kind of strategically map it out. It'll be one way to do it.
Okay.
So the only concern I have is that, like Craig keeps mentioning, I don't say, it's not if, it's when, like we had that water leak right just the other week. I mean, that was a minor one. You get something big, then this derails it. We have to come back and look at other options.
So if I can, sorry,
No, there's.
when we have this planned out, we identified the reserves being used. Will we also have that identified, and I mentioned this earlier, the potential to use the debenture? Because what we heard at that, when we had that open house, was people don't want to bear the burden today so much as it spread out over time, right? Like, why should we, I don't know how many times I've heard it from residents, why should I have my taxes increase so tremendously now when 10 or 15 years ago or from now it would benefit better? So will we be able to see that identified, how the debenture?
100%. So for example, if, this time next year, well, hopefully we'll do budgeting later. If you have a project that's $5 million, yeah, perhaps 4 million of that would be the option of a debenture, and, a debenture would be over 25 years. So residents up until 2050 would be paying for it, similar to West End or a mortgage, right? So future owners will pay for future use. Yeah.
We all become seniors at some point.
Well, it's a great conversation, but we have to consider.
Yeah, and I just want to put this out in public too, because, and probably not popular, but we should have been saving for a long time.
Yeah.
And the residents that have been living here for the last 20, 30 years haven't been paying.
Exactly.
They have not been putting enough money away.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, of course, they're gonna say, oh, let those other people pay 20, 30 years from now, because I don't have to pay right now. And they should have been paying for the last 10, 15, 20 years. So I struggle with the idea of, oh yeah, let's just take a debenture out and then let my daughter and my son pay for it and I still get to use it almost for free. Like, I really struggle with that concept. We have to make, of course, it's not right to put it all on them, but we have to strike a balance. And so.
And that is municipal government 101.
Yeah, well, it's been lean for decades. It's been lean for decades. And that's what the water use bylaw was. We attacked that one because we knew that there were gaps there. And we have seen communities in British Columbia struggle, flounder. Osoyoos, I think, was one of them that had to raise their rate by 50% or something. Right? So yeah, we're trying to figure this out because we see it in other communities. So.
That's right. Cindy? Thought?
Part of our problem is that we had thought we had been attacking it and raising our rates, and we've been at this. But the problem is that no matter when we say we're taking this money and reserving it, it somehow mysteriously, all of a sudden the calculation was wrong or something happens. And moving off of Excel spreadsheets is a
It's a
really
good
good
idea.
Like, to me, I don't feel bad that I didn't take it from residents for the last few years, because I didn't feel that we had the management team that was gonna make sure that it was gonna go to where it needed to go. Now that we do, I know you have an order for doing the IMP, but the finance system doesn't depend on MDPs or any other system. That's something that we could do right now and get it done so that our staff can manage funds properly, that we can set realistic goals. So to me, that is one that I'm like,
Can you do that?
I think you should get done 2025, but I'm up to admin is,
Be a reserved conversation.
it would, we'd have some fun.
I'd suggest, your worship, because again, tonight we're talking capital. You'll see operating published this Friday. We go for that final kick of the can, a couple of meetings from now. Maybe that conversation we had. The only thing I will mention with financial, where it's not for anything, right? I mean, if we had funding, it would probably take a year to implement this, right? Because you got training, you're talking about merging and just transitioning Excels. So you're basically doing another amalgamation, simpler. Has to be done, in my opinion, but it's not gonna be an overnight thing. I would say probably about a year.
So if we wait a year, we're still waiting another year.
Yeah.
It's like this, so we need to get our staff get some free time from what they are doing right now, because I'm trying to put some policies, procedures, and along with the audit, and, did the amalgamation audit and all that stuff, which we are much better compared to the last year, but still, am I happy? No, not yet. So in, coming months, probably we will do that and get implemented more policies and procedures. I would recommend going into 2026, that we give a little bit more time to analyze, as well as its staff are prepared.
That's fair.
Then we will get further to give a little bit more on that. I already talked to MNP. They recommend a software, which is a good one. Basically, it's always better to go through the audit, because they know, and they audit with different municipalities. If we choose that route, we will get more ideas and the advantages and disadvantages, pros and cons. So I would like to go through that route too, but little bit time we need. So I would recommend 2026 will be an ideal position.
I would take your advice, or else I'll give you the 300 tomorrow.
Because we're not taking, $3,000 and, for every house that we built, and you have some free time, come back and let us know.
We would definitely, yeah. Yes.
Okay, can we move on? Can someone give me a motion or something? What do you want? Like, you don't know what you want here.
We are done with capital, so please approve it.
Thank you.
We're not approving it tonight.
But thank you, Vin. Like where you said, so we're done.
Yeah, your worship, so we just take no action here, this will come back as part of the final package.
September 4th?
Depending on how next Friday goes, that's all right.
Next Wednesday.
Yeah.
Next Friday?
Next Wednesday.
Yeah, next Wednesday.
Yeah.
Are you gonna be done?
Yeah, okay.
Your capital, correct?
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Yeah, as part of that, you'll have the 1 and then the 5, but again, just for practical purposes, the 5 is just
Let's get this.
Future forecast.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are gonna move on from 9.1, so you're gonna bring it to us, that's good. Before we get moving, let's just take that motion, Councillor Gordon, please,
Extend,
to extend.
30 minutes or?
Yeah, well, I don't think we're gonna be that long.
Extend it, council.
Pass it, just pass it.
We don't need to specify
You
time.
do not
No.
need to.
Oh,
Good. I won't specify the time
Just say,
to extend
That's
past
30
30
minutes, 30 minutes.
there you go. All in favor?
Yes.
Okay, good. 9.2, use of flood response erosion control, project grant.
Real quick.
Quick update and we'll just swallow into tears.
Your worship, I would just recommend motion, let's get that letter written and then see what happens.
I'll take it.
Thank you, Cindy.
Cindy?
Yeah, all right. The council directed administration to send the minister a letter of request to use the remaining grant funding of approximately 2.6 million to build fire protection berms as detailed in the urban policeman study. So I sent you an email a while back. Do we have information on what that bridge does in relation? Did the engineers listen to us and go back and look at that?
Still cannot confirm. This would be part of that. I just don't know.
To me, that's a kind of a critical piece of leverage that we have in saying, give us this 2.6, because otherwise the bridge is much more expensive. Right?
Yeah, okay, so your worship, the 2.6 does not include the bridge, it includes 4 berms.
Yeah, oh, I know, but if it's really the bridge that's the problem, but we're building berms because the bridge is a problem.
Yeah.
That's a good argument for the government.
It's not quite, the berms do require the improvements as well in order to meet the new flood forecasting.
Yeah.
If you didn't do the berms and you hadn't do the bridge, based on the flood forecasting, there would still likely be a breach of the berms.
So basically, we build the berms, and if the province doesn't lift the bridge, we just tiger dam it. If another major flood hit, so at least we protect the town. Cover it, put a big berm over the
They're
bridge.
fillable tarps and the things that you can put up to, like better than sandbags, but they're like little walls you can put up full of water.
Yeah, we cut off the road and water just flow over the bridge and keep going.
So there's something.
So basically, two-phase process. So we'll probably put this in two-phase process. We get the funding from the province.
Yeah.
That gets the berms, then we come back to the table and say, hey, we built the berms. This is your highway, your bridge. What can we do here? If they say no money for the berms, we'll have to have another conversation.
Okay, motion,
Cindy gave it. Okay,
all in favor?
get that letter on it.
Okay, good. Proclamation, someone, give it. Council proclaimed November 8th as World Town Planning Day in the town of Simon Valley. All in favor?
Sure.
Declaration to have November 8th recognized as World Town Planning Day in the town of Diamond Valley. From the parks we enjoy to the streets we travel to the places we call home. The discipline known as planning is interwoven within our lives. Every day, planning professionals work in communities like Diamond Valley across the country and around the world to make a positive difference in how we live, work, and play.
by leading and design a management plan, resources planners help us protect our environment, promote health, well-being, preserve cultural heritage, and deliver community features that contribute to better outcomes for all. On November 8th, 2024, the Canadian Institute of Planners will join our planning organizations worldwide to celebrate the 75th annual World Town Planning Day. On this noteworthy day, planners come together with fellow community builders and citizens to celebrate the purpose of this important profession. World Town Planning Day represents an opportunity to reflect on the vast accomplishments of planners and to organize and encourage curiosity and collaboration in solving modern challenges like budget. This year, World Town Planning Day is dedicated to one of the most pressing topics of our time, the housing crisis, with the theme of Home Start with Planning. The Canadian Institute of Planners, Canadian Alberta Professional Planners Institute, and Global Planners Network acknowledge that every evolving nature of the housing crisis, while celebrating the innovative spirit of the planning profession and its ability to respond to solutions driven by the values of equity, inclusivity, and sustainability, planners remain actively engaged in promoting housing affordability and choice in communities like Diamond Valley and beyond. Therefore, in acknowledgement of this historic occasion, I, Mayor Barry Green, call on the town of Diamond Valley to declare November 8th as World Town Planning Day. It is more important than ever before to support the professional planners in Diamond Valley, Alberta, Canada, and around the world as they purposely plan for current and future generations. Give me a motion for some money.
I will give you that.
$500 for the U7 minor hockey team community sport grant.
Yeah.
For Jonathan.
Can I make a motion to change our proclamation policy that the mayor is only allowed to read the whereas? Yeah. Can I have that in writing?
The whereas.
Make a motion.
That gotta be a
during
Christmas
this. I
tree.
think that's.
Yeah, then you gotta say no. You have to, I'll only vote yes if you don't do this. I'm just happy that the word.
No
Luke
disrespect to
wasn't in there.
Carrie on
In
planning.
the new year.
We could certainly bring it back for your review.
Whereas planners are essential to the world we live in. And whereas Brandon is tired.
No, I'm fine. That's been pretty good.
Here we go. $500, U7 hockey table.
That council approved the U7 minor hockey teams community sport grant application request in the amount of $500.
Thank you. All there. Carried. All opposed?
I'm opposed.
Thank you. Next one, consent agenda pilot. Okay, what do we got here?
My worship, we've been piloting this for the last 6 months. I think the feedback, at least from administration's perspective, is it's been very positive.
Mhm.
So we're recommending to council that we make a permit pending council feedback.
No, I love it.
I'll give it to you.
Yep.
The council direct administration to prepare a bylaw to amend bylaw 2023-14, the procedure bylaw to include the use of the consent agenda. And thank you, Adam, for introducing
I
it.
love it.
Oliver.
Oh, thank you, Verna.
Yeah, Verna was.
Adam told us it was his idea.
There you go. That truth comes down. Low hanging fruit, right? Adam?
Good job, Verna.
Okay,
Closed.
all in favor?
Oh,
Yeah. Okay, consent, 21B or 2.1.B.
You got 9.6.
Yeah, that's the one, 9.6, consent 2.1.B.
So I thought I'd bring this forward to council just outside of the consent agenda, just to make sure. So the rural renewal stream, the major focus of it is how it addresses current labor needs and skill shortages in our rural communities. And one of our leading businesses reached out to me about a week ago, said, would we be interested in it? And in discussion came to find out, as you see in the report that the NIC has done already, that 2 other businesses have asked about it as well. And one of the major concerns is that with the challenges with immigration now, the challenges with the permanent residents, they're finding it difficult to have that open door for the immigrants that are coming in that want to work with them. So the main part is that the stream itself is community driven. So even though council had the role to play in it, our role is an endorsement letter. So we would work with an economic development organization, complete the application, to get it done. Down at Disbury, similar size as ours, has it up and running. I think they're the one Tabor, a little bit bigger than us. They have it up and running. Where I do think it'd be good for us is a little bit on the vitality side, which is part of our strategic plan, if you remember, where we're energized by a vibrant community, where active engagement and a genuine care can thrive. So within that, we're enriching the quality of life. We're working for an enhancing a collaborative approach. So I would really like council to discuss that. I know that a couple of the other businesses I've talked with, they've had some concern about it as well, because they have immigrants working for them. And there is concern on how, with the restrictions coming in, with the numbers for PR and whatnot, they might have to send them back home to their native land. So this kind of a program would support their regular inhabitants here in our community.
They're immigrants, why would they have to go home? Or are they temporary workers?
They're not temporary foreign workers.
Why would they have to go home?
Because some of their, the way the visas work for them, separate from a rural renewal program, they're like a temporary visa. They're not a temporary foreign working, but there's a temporary visa attached to some of them. So the one that reached out to me, they were able to come into Canada. The wife has been able to attend a university, so she's here with a student, and there's an allowance on that, but that is going to be coming to its end.
I have no problem with letters of support. I have a problem with filling out applications for people. So if they want a generic, yeah, we support. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, it's a letter of endorsement. So the challenge would be, and Minnick can fill me in on here, the program has to have some level of oversight. And so there's a municipal oversight as well as an economic development organization oversight. So potentially what I would like us to do is just to broaden that a little bit more. I don't want to take too much of staff time away because I know that takes a lot. But if we can take a look at what that really looks like to work with the program, because I know Minnick was reaching out, if you read the report, Minnick was reaching out to other communities to get a little bit more information. So before we just say, no, let's not move forward with it, I'd like to get that fuller information to see what it actually looks like for administration to oversee it. Because the application of an employer, like if you look at the town of Disbury's site, the way they oversee it is, and they're not accepting applications right now from employers. Their allotment, I don't know exactly as to why not. Maybe Minnick can explain why they're not accepting applications right now, but so an employer will identify a need. And so what they'll then do is do recruitment that will allow immigrants to come over to fill that need. The town comes alongside with their endorsement. In the town of Disbury setup, that application to fill that need goes through the town as well, because there's a partnership involved. So it's a little bit, it's very in depth. And I'd like to know a little bit more information before we even, because it's one thing to endorse a letter, but if there's no oversight, then I don't want to endorse that.
Hazel?
Would the grant cover any extra admin costs?
I don't know if there's a financial tool involved.
There's no finance.
Yeah, there's no finance involved.
So the municipality would just absorb all those costs.
Whatever the cost may be.
And try and find housing for people and stuff like that.
Which maybe we just have Minnick.
We'll go to Minnick.
Yeah.
Cindy.
Certainly. So in my investigation, several of the municipalities have withdrawn their support of it, just they're not able to manage it because of the capacity, or what they've done is they've actually hired somebody on and then not been able to keep the budget to sustain it. So I guess it depends on different levels. Where we come into the challenge is that we really can't establish a database need. So I don't have any actual data that says that this is required. We're within, a trading area and community distance of over 1 million people. And so to hear that we have shortages in retail and accommodations, that is likely true. But then how can we actually present a business case through application that there is a demonstrated need? It just is very difficult to be able to demonstrate that. We don't have any studies that are able to help. I have met with Community Futures Highwood to try and examine if there were, or explore if there were any other options. They don't feel at this point not official, they're going to look at it more deeply, but that they have capacity either to be able to do that, but would support the town in whatever way they could. But the other one too is just in terms of being able to sustain, so somebody's come here and how do we make sure that they have affordable accommodation? We can't do that for anybody at the moment. So it's a little bit more challenging, and those are the questions that I've reached out to the local immigration society, try and find out a little bit more about it, and also the economic development government of Alberta arm. And everybody just seems to be spinning around in circles, and a lot are hesitating because of the recent changes in the federal program. So it is one of those where we'll continue to gather information. I just didn't see that within our capacity at the moment, and council priorities, and also looking at reducing some costs by not accepting additional projects, that this one would not be one that we should move forward with at the moment. But certainly I can continue to gather information and report back.
Yeah, because if I may, bring up some,
Yeah, to me, this sounds like feds are messing up on their immigration, and so they're coming up with some weird little download to municipalities to deal with it. And we can't afford to deal with any of it. So I don't think it's worth the stop time to continue going down the road. So I know it'd be nice to help out our businesses, but we provide water, sewer, garbage, and need to focus on that.
yeah, I was looking at it from an economic development perspective over time.
I don't think that'll make it a break.
Maybe Richard, no. I'm saying staff is taxed right now, right to the nines. So,
And
And
here.
especially when there's,
Communities that withdrawn.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like a pilot project that they backed out of.
And again, local jobs, I'm a big fan of local jobs, teens, whatever you need, but everything's a niche, right? Everything's a niche, so, but yeah, no, I'm good with not right now. Maybe as we graduate into an economic development position down the road, that could be something that becomes more relevant. But I wouldn't waste any more staff time at this point. Yep, there's no motion on the table right now, so if we're good, thank you for bringing it forward though.
Yeah.
I was also approached by some businesses too.
Yeah.
Same thing, so thanks for following that up. So
Your worship,
say we've had that.
if I may, when
Yep.
Community Futures reaches out, I'll share it with council.
Yeah. All right, motion to go in closed, by Councilor Kelly. Yeah.